been struggling, I've been hustling. It's fuck the government, I can't go on. We've been programmed for way too long. Yeah, I've been struggling, I've been hustling. I can't go on. We've been programmed for way too long. You're in a dream state. Why you think you're flying through space? Why you think the moon landed was fake? Sell us on a big bang so they can slap God in the face. I think COVID is the reason we wake. Never followed any rules, took a different direction. Went to school, felt control, so I sat in detention. They don't teach you about emotions, how to deal with depression. They just send you to a doctor, get a script, hope they get you dependent. It's a business and they profit off kids stressing. Call it ADD when all the kid really needs is attention. All we getting from deception's a lesson. They manipulate your mind, take your rights, claim it's for your protection. I've been struggling, I've been hustling. It's fuck the government, I can't go on. We've been programmed for way too long. Yeah, I've been struggling, I've been hustling. I can't go on. We've been programmed for way too long. Yeah, they got you caught in a trance. Yeah, either you fall or you stand. Yeah, corrupt your soul is their plan. Yeah, look close in our past. They built what's I ain't never fall in line. I ain't bitch made no. Ain't no pussy in my heart, but the grip like those. See, I've been conscious from the start. Read the X's and O's. Now that pussy in your heart can be the switchblade, bro. Relax, go back to sleep. Put your trust in the government. Your Instagrams are dopamine, bitch. I know you be loving it. Desensitized from all these clowns in the media. Bullshit, full clip, propaganda they feeding you, bitch. I'm dragging balls like a super saiyan. Who the man? The Lex Luthor Prime. Go on with Superman. Mixed together, who wanna fight? I'm with whatever. I struggled and then I hustle, so shit, my soul is rich forever. I've been struggling, I've been hustling. It's fuck the government, I can't go on. We've been programmed for way too long. Yeah, I've been struggling, I've been hustling. I can't go on. We've been programmed for way too long.
All right, welcome to the show, everybody. Sorry about that. Can you stop that for a second? Thank you. All right. Welcome to the show. It is a spur of the moment, non-announced show. So let me get shit together here, and we will get going. So let me explain first. Let me do this real quick. Go that one. Yeah, there we go. And yeah, the phone numbers are good. I think I'm going to turn on the phone line. So if you call and you hear a busy signal, it means that one person is on. Just so you know, the phone line costs me money. And so when I put people on hold, the problem with that is that I have to pay for them being on hold. So if I have 5 open lines and we're just talking to one person, then I've got to pay for everybody to hold. We don't need that. So if you call and you hear a busy signal, it means somebody else is on the phone. Okay. And you can also use the link that's there, tinyurl.com/cornerism. Let me give a 5-minute little spiel, and then I'm going to explain how it'll work tonight. Just so you know, don't get mad at me if I hang up on you. Don't get mad if I dump you. The reason is because people will get on here and they'll talk forever. And you have that ability to do that. It's called make a channel and do what I just did. Hit go live, and then you can sit there and talk all night. That's the way that works. But to come on my show and let you talk forever doesn't make a lot of sense to me unless you are getting to the point or you are convincing me of what I want convincing of. And I'm missing Jeff Doherty, who's reading right now live my book, or not my book, but the book I sent to him. But here's the issue that I have laid out simply is I don't accept names being applied to me by certain groups out there that might be calling you one name or another, or certain people. Okay, let's put a couple things straight. Number one, I'm not an atheist. Okay, just because somebody doesn't believe in the same God that you do doesn't make them an atheist. So when you hear other people, other channels that want to tell you that, just accept the fact that they're lying to you. Okay, I know for a fact that we were created or placed here in some way. Okay, I know that. You can look around and notice that this is not accidental. Things did not explode from some primordial tiny blast of denseness that turned into everything that there is. Okay? It doesn't make sense. So I'm smart enough to recognize that. So stop calling me an atheist. It's not correct. Number two, I grew up and believed like you do. Okay? So I don't mean to offend any Christians. It's not about offending you. It's not about upsetting you. If you are happy in your current beliefs, okay, and you don't plan on changing them, then you shouldn't watch this show. Unless you want to have your beliefs challenged, which I think is a good thing. I think that that's a way to get to new beliefs and to better understandings and to closer to truth, would be to have your current beliefs challenged. But if you're just going to get frustrated and say, I'm this or that, then don't watch. You should be happy in your beliefs, and you should feel fine the day you die. When you face God, everything's going to be good. I grew up like you. I was Christian. I grew up Catholic, and people say, well, Catholic's not Christian. Yes, it is. Christian means you believe in God or Jesus. That's what Catholics believe. But yes, the Catholics are quite different than a Bible-believing Christian. Catholics talk about, we don't believe the Bible. We think it's inspired by God, but yeah, it's been changed. Or so. You know why they think that? Because they changed it, okay? They were a part of that. They were the part of rearranging the books. They were picking which books go in. Okay, so once I met my wife, who's from a family and herself was Bible-believing Christian, we went back and forth. How were we going to raise our child? And I said, and she said, well, we'll just raise them based on the Bible. The Bible's true. I'm like, no, the Bible's not true. It's been written by man. And so we had this kind of conflict. And we both felt very afraid of reaching out and looking at new places, looking for new evidence. The reason why is because we're taught that anything coming from outside the Bible is Satan, okay? So right from the start, you're handicapped as a child in the fact that you're told fantastical stories, not much different than like Santa. And because you're a child, you believe it. And there's little Easter eggs hidden here and there, right? Like, so there'll be chewed up cookies and half drinking milk in the morning. So a child's going to put two and two together and be like, oh, they told me Santa's coming, and look at Santa came and obviously ate these cookies. So Santa must be real. Now, down the road, you learn that that's not the case and that it's just a story that's told to children, and you get over it. You don't argue. You don't cry. You don't call people names. You understand when you've been lied to, and you realize when things are impossible, right? So if I told you right now, everybody listening to the show is going to get $10 million from me as soon as the show ends. All you have to do is be in the chat. Right away, everyone here is going to say, bullshit. Why? Why would you say bullshit to me when I said that? Well, number one, nobody in the history of the world has ever given away $10 million to people in a chat. So that might be one reason that you wouldn't believe me. Second reason might be, you know I don't have any money. So it'd be really difficult for me to give you $10 million or give it to more than one person, okay? So you would dismiss what I said outright as a lie or a joke. You would not believe it. You would not accept it as a belief, okay? Now, if I made you accept it because I told you that those who don't believe me, I'm going to subject to never-ending torment or something like that, maybe a couple people out there would be like, you know what, I don't want to be tormented, so maybe I should believe him. What I'm getting at here is that we have the ability as people to use our brains, to use our minds, to look at evidence and information and decipher for ourselves whether it is logically correct to go in that direction or not. Okay. Now, when it comes down to the Bible, okay, it is a book written by men. Everybody admits that. Nobody says God came down and used his hand to pen it. They say that it was inspired by God, okay? If it's inspired by God, that's a weird thing to say anyway, because I think if I asked anybody here, have you ever been inspired by God? I think we would all say yes. So all of us at some point have been inspired by God. Does that give us permission to write things down and pass it out to others and tell them that they have to believe what we said? And I'm thinking you would understand the problem with that is that maybe when you were inspired by God, it was at a different time in your life, and maybe you would have said things that you don't believe now that you did believe then. So at no point should we be believing and trusting in the words of men who tell us that that word is from God. If God wanted us to know that, he would come down and say, everybody, I wrote that book. Okay? He wouldn't leave it up to men to tell us. You've got so many religions in the world. Quran, the Bible, you've got Buddha, you've got the Native Americans who had their beliefs in the river god and the sun god. Okay? So can we recognize that every human being here on earth feels a connection with their creator and looks for that creator? Now, the way they've had it set up, they've got it set up so most people who do that for a while and then start to see the lies of religion, they go straight to atheism. They go straight to science because it's all true there. Everything's true in science. So that's what they go towards. Some people become disillusioned and find some other religion. Some people become Gnostic. Some people become deists. Okay. My point is that to claim you have the right God and everybody else is wrong is one of the problems with this world. Muslims do it. Christians do it. They all claim they have the right God. They have some sort of hold over God. They have some sort of connection with him. They're the right people. They're the chosen people. Let's get something straight. God is not a racist. God does not care about one people over another based on their race or where they were born or what their religion that they were born into is. Doesn't care. Okay? So when you have these other nations trying to scream and yell at each other and fight each other, do you really think that that's from God? This division? Muslims tell me, Jaron, the Quran is the only book that's uncorrupted, so the Quran is real. And I say, oh, what about the Bible? No, God said that was corrupted. And so it's like, okay, wait. So now you believe in a God that came corrupted, that left the Bible for people, one little group of people in the Middle East, and then it got corrupted. So what did God do? He came back and said, let me give a new book to a new people. And these are the kind of things that we're going to get into tonight. That is a ridiculous belief. And it's a belief so dumb that you shouldn't believe in that God, period. Okay? Now, to finish this off, what I'm looking for is like the title says on the screen. Please tell me why you would ever worship the God of the Bible. Because all I've heard from people is because he's God, because he's the truth, because he's all that there is. And okay, great. If that God does things that you don't see as moral, then do you think that you have the right to say, I don't worship that God? And if your answer to me is no, we have to do whatever he says and whatever, then just realize how much of a pussy I think you are. How much of a mindless, heartless, gutless, spineless turd you are. Okay? That means that if God came down and just started kicking children in the nuts, throwing old ladies in front of buses, that we're supposed to sit back and be like, well, praise be to you, O great and mighty Lord, because you are the one who created me, and I have to believe. No, that's so freaking dumb. Because we were given morality by somebody. It's not the book. Okay? What's better, light or dark? What's better, love or hate? You don't need the book to tell you the answer to those. There's always a right answer that you feel inside you. Okay? That's not making yourself your own God. There's people out there that will tell you, oh, Jaron just wants to be his own God. He wants to make up his own choices. No, I'm going based off the morals that have been put inside me. That's it. That's not being my own God. Believe me, if I was my own God, there would be a lot of different things going on. Okay? It's not that. It's a recognition that we were created. That's your presupposition, if you will. We were created. From there, I say, I think every single human being has a connection with the Creator, number one, has felt that connection. Now, the only time I would say that's a little bit different is if a child is like born into some family of Satanists or some family that does ritual abuse. That child is probably corrupted before they even have a chance to think, and they would never know true morality. And I'm assuming that the parents of that child are going to pay for that mistake in the end. But those of us who do come of age, 10 years old, 12 years old, 15 years old, 16 years old, we start to know the difference between right and wrong. Now, we still do wrong over and over again. And by the age of, for me, it happened around 29 or 30, that I then began to see what my actions were doing, the pain that they might be causing, and how I was truly sinning. And then every time I did it, it was, you knew it. Okay, now I could have continued on that road, could have continued down the path of sin. And I might have even stopped feeling that feeling of remorse. I would have stopped feeling like it hurt me, that it felt bad, because you train yourself out of that. And you just start thinking that whatever I'm doing, having sex with any girl I want, it's all fine because you've trained yourself. But nobody can admit that they didn't originally feel wrong about what they were doing. Okay. So for me, myself, as soon as I see that, I make the choice to start doing correctly. And then all of a sudden, and I'll call it born again, you no longer can do the bad thing. Okay, you start to realize, oh shit, we are going to be held responsible for what we do here. We are going to be judged by our actions. And so that's the path I started to take. Now, like I said, we then looked outside of the Bible. My wife and I, we actually prayed to God, laid in bed, holding hands. I can still picture it. Said, God, please give us a year to find out if you're the real God. If you are, we'll come back. We'll come back to Christianity. We just need a year to actually search. Your book says to leave no stone unturned, to prove all things. And so we went looking. And in a matter of less than a year, we became atheists. Now, that lasted 6 months. Okay, 6 months only, maybe even less. Maybe it was 3 months, because quickly I saw that the other side was no different. They were a religion as well. Science is a religion. It is just like everybody else. There are people in this world that want you on their team. They want you to own your belief system. And I think it's the biggest folly you could ever do is to give your beliefs up to somebody else. So if you are a Christian or you are a Muslim, or I believe your beliefs are not your own. They're not your own. They are beliefs that you've been trained to repeat for a reason. Period. Whose beliefs are their own? Mine. Because I'm giving you my honest opinion, what I've found, what I think, not based off any belief system that's been given to me. Okay? I wouldn't even call myself a deist, because it's another belief system that somebody's dictating. This is what deists believe. Well, you don't know what I believe. You don't know, unless you're going to come ask me. And I'm pretty sure nobody else in the world believes like I do. So there's no name for it. In fact, it's the name of this channel, Jeranism, right? So let's see who's in line. Anyway, just that's pretty much it. I want you to explain to me, why would I ever worship a creature, a mistake-making, rule-following or making, has to follow certain rules, creator God who goes against the morals that he put inside me. Okay? There's people out there that will say to you, we're not allowed to judge God because we don't know the great and glory. Okay, then he wouldn't have given us morals at all. Why not just make us robots if he wants people just to follow him? Why would God need worship anyway? It's God. He doesn't need anything. Oh, he needed to do the blood sacrifice, Jaron. He needed to. No. God doesn't need to do blood sacrifices. That's dumb. That's dumb. The God of the Old Testament is wicked and disgusting, and the reason people are the way that they are is because of that God. He demanded animal sacrifice. He told the Israelites, if you sin, bring me a turtle dove, snap its neck, take the blood and drip it on the altar 7 times, go behind the altar and clean yourself up in this bathing pool I left back there, and then take a he-goat and cast your sins upon it, send it out into the wilderness and kill it, and therefore your sins will be forgiven. If you don't understand that that's not worship worthy, it's not cool, it's dumb. A dumb human came up with that. It's not even anything close to what a God would come up with. Why would God do that? What kind of would you do that with your children? If your child comes home and he's late from curfew, he's supposed to be home at 10, he's home at 11. You're like, that's it. I want you tomorrow to bring me a rat from the gutter. I want you to bring it here and snap its neck and drip blood on my altar. No, you wouldn't. It's stupid. It's stupid. Now you can't come to that conclusion on your own and realize that that God that's being talked about is not the God of this world. That being said, let's move real quickly to the New Testament. Let's say that you've decided that that Old Testament God is a little bit weird, probably shouldn't be worshipped, but you say, but Jesus came and he's the new God. Okay, is he the same God as the Old Testament God? Then the Old Testament God told us he never changes. So then he lied and comes as the new God who has a totally different mindset. Now all of a sudden it's love your enemies, turn the other cheek. What happened to the old God? The old God smite you and killed you for touching the Ark of the Covenant. That's not loving your enemies. That's not turning the other cheek. That's being crazy, a crazy person, psychopath. Okay? So if you want my quick opinion is this is a trick. And if we have to get into it exactly, we'll go to Rokfin only. Okay? Because I can't say it here. But there's a trick of a certain group that has subjected the world to a lot of nonsense for a long time. And you know it and I know it. Yet you still worship their book, their God, and what they've set up for you to worship, because it actually promotes them in the end. It's doing their will. It's doing their work. And you've fallen for it. That's basically it. All right, let's bring on first. We've got, looks like Ryan.
Hey, no, I just wanted to say totally agree with you.
Oh, that was easy. Good show so far.
Yeah, no, great show. But you're totally right. You opened my eyes to this. I grew up a lot how you did with, believing this and that. And I got disillusioned with religion. And then I thought, well, it's just religion, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And then you're the one that opened the door. And then I watched some other people where they really expose the stuff. And it's like, yeah, no, dude's a psychopath. Like, why are we even like how? And then I had my only child, my daughter. And I'm like, you're supposed to be a loving father. And I would never, like, I think of myself as a loving father. I would never be like that with my child. Like, I think of myself as a hard ass, but yeah,
Right.
no, get real. And because the one who like really pushed me over the edge was Adam Green with
Right.
a lot of his stuff, which don't ever go on his channel. Don't do this or that. He totally hates flat earthers.
Yeah, I heard.
Wants nothing to do with us. But he's got a lot of good information, and that's, eat the meat, spit out the bones.
I agree. I watch him sometimes when I see he's on.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it is what it is. But no, I mean, you're 100% right with this, and it's just like, give me a break to where, we're supposed to worship this guy, we're supposed to do this and that. And, I went to private Christian school, did all this and that. I mean, I've read the Bible more than a lot of these so-called pastors have. It contradicts itself so many times.
Yeah, over and over again. And this is what's embarrassing, is that they want to tell us that there's no contradictions. And so that makes them ridiculous.
No, and you're the one that really like brought that to my forefront, was to where it's like, they tell us there's no contradictions. There's none of this or that. And it's like, I can point out 10 right now to where it contradicts itself. And if you bring it up, it's just like, well, it's because it was translated wrong.
Of course,
it's
always the words, because of the time period. We don't understand the time. What people don't realize is it's scripture that you're saying we're supposed to. It's the instruction booklet. It's the manual.
Yeah.
So don't tell me that it's from a time period. It says in Romans 13 that all government is placed there by God, and to go against your government is to go against God. That's what it says. Yeah. Period.
And that's really convenient. Like, if you're the government writing stuff.
Absolutely. And it says pay your taxes and give honor to who honors due, pay tax to who taxes due. Who does that benefit?
Well, no, and technically, we all need to pay reverence to Joe Biden, because he's our leader.
It says Romans 13 actually clearly says that he's there to promote the good and to chastise the bad.
Yeah, to protect us all.
Yep.
To do this and that. And it's like, come on.
And that's not straw manning to anybody who's going to say that's straw manning. That's straw manning. No, it's not. That's what it says.
No, that's what it says. And either you believe what it says or you don't believe what it says. You can't pick and choose what you want out of it, or this or that. And that's where, like, I'm the first to believe, because my father just passed away last November. My mother is like super Christian. And like, and I have to I'm not going to argue with her, because I know it'll get nowhere. It won't do anything. But it's just like.
But you get along with her, right?
We don't get along, but it's not because of that. Okay. It's just, I got a psycho sister and this and that. And she takes advantage of my mother, and my mother gives her a bunch of money and blah, 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 blah. And I can do anything, and I'm not going to be the stopgap to save you from going into poverty. I want
to point out real quick. I want to point out somebody in the chat that I think is hilarious. Somebody says here, it boils down to God's perfection and his justice. He is God. You don't understand how weak of a person I think you are. You don't understand how pathetic I think that is. That you're saying
that's moronic.
It's moronic. You're saying that God, because he created you, can do whatever, and you're going to worship him. And I just want you to picture, there is a God somewhere, and if he knows that you've done that, and that's the reason you love him, don't you understand that he's not proud at all of that? That not
proud at all. But the reason me and my mom don't have a good relationship is because she's so close to God, and she's so manipulated by my drug-using sister that I just can't be a part of it no more. So she's so close to God. She gives everything to God. So why wouldn't God open my mother's eyes and show her that, my sister is a raving, she goes to raves, does all these drugs. And if she overdoses at a rave, it's, somebody drugged her. They did this or that. And it's like, yeah, no, she went there and she did too many drugs, but I can't even deal with people like that, to where it's like,
okay. And just so people know, I am gonna set a clock just because I do understand it's going to get too much time with each person. There's a lot of people waiting.
It's good. I just wanted to call in and say, I back you 100%.
Well, don't say that. I'm nobody's guru. I don't want anybody to back me. I don't want anybody to believe what I say. What I want is for people.
It's not believing. It's just, I am on the same page as you with this, to where people, I don't care what it is. you can't believe anything blindly. You can't do it. Like, absolutely, you cannot.
Nor would it be
And when
celebrated
something-
or something that the creator wants you to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, but anything, you have to judge it by what you feel is right and this and that. And when something tells you that you have to do this, you have to do that, I'm going to do this, like you can't. You just you can't. And when it contradicts itself and it says, I cannot be contradicted, yeah, but you just did. So how does that even work? And if you don't believe in me, then you're going to hell forever and blah, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. But I love you. I love you so much. You're my only child. I love you forever.
Think of the ego, the conceit to tell people that if you love your mother and father more than me, then you're not worthy of me. That the ego behind that. And that's what Jesus says.
That's horrible. So people that you know that supported you before you could even walk or do anything.
Yeah.
But if you love them more, that's horrible. I mean, like,
yeah, there's no way that's it's a trick. It's a trap. It's meant.
No, it's a total trap. Trap.
Yeah. I'm going to let you go because we got to get to these other people.
Yep. Nope. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Peace. And just real quick, why I say that's a trap is because I believe, and this is just what I believe. It doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean Jaren's saying this is a fact. I think this is a testing ground, a proving ground. And I'm not even sure I'm supposed to release this information because maybe it's something that people are supposed to realize. That's why I say, if you are happy in your religion, if you're happy with your beliefs, then don't watch this show. What I'm trying to talk about is for people out there that are questioning, for people who can't find the way, maybe they just need that one little nugget to get them in the right direction. I believe once you realize that you are being tested here and that the cream of the crop move on, and whatever that means, I don't know. Whether it means it's another plane of existence, whether it means that you graduate to something, I don't know what it is. But I do know that we have to have a reason for being here, and it cannot be the reasons that I've been told by every single religion, which come down to, well, you have to, God's going to take certain people to heaven and certain people to hell, or whatever those things might be, because the description of who he takes to heaven is a joke. Okay. People who came here and then were told what the truth is through some book, and they just sat in their house and waited for Jesus to come and save the world. Those people are not, and the Bible actually says, or Christians actually say, all you need to do is believe in Jesus and all your sins are forgiven. Can you imagine a more ridiculous thing than that? Sorry, guys. Nobody died for your sins. You are responsible for your sins. You. Now, can you ask for forgiveness? Can you be forgiven? Absolutely. But you cannot place them on somebody else and then be impressed by, well, Jesus took all of our sins on. It's not a sacrifice. It's not a sacrifice when you are God and you come to earth. Imagine I'm God of a bunch of beings I created here on my desk, and they're doing bad things. I'm like, I need to go down there and I need to save. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to sacrifice my life for them. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to die on the cross. And then I'm going to do what? You're going to rise back and be God again? That's not a sacrifice. That's the least sacrificial thing that's ever been done in the entire world. It's the opposite of a sacrifice. It's a joke. It's like self-propping yourself up. Oh, look at me. I'm going to go sacrifice myself to myself because I need to. It's just ridiculous. All right, let's go to the next caller. And we got a 4-minute clock now. And I'm going to turn off any sound so that nobody cries about the sound. Can I... it just says choose file. Can I choose? Well, maybe I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. Do I have anything that's a short? Oh, it says pop. I'll just put pop. Hopefully that's a small sound. All right. And we've got start. Yes. That's good. All right. Now that should be good. 4 minutes. Let me see if that works on the screen. Start. Oh, come on. What's not working? 4 minutes. Go. Hold on. I got to figure out what I did wrong here. Stream deck. Oh, there it goes. Now it's gone. Had to think, I guess. All right. Now we're back here. Let me get this on the screen, the clock, and we'll bring on the next person. We got, Sacred Knowledge is back. What do you know?
Hey.
You sound kind of quiet, my friend.
I'm going to speak up. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, cool. Great topic. So I was just want to say my 2 cents real fast. Yeah, well, I'll just be brutally honest. I don't think you should worship an inferior being, because what you're describing is inferior to us, especially us as a humanity, especially if you know what I know about our ancient past. But, I mean, when you think that the flood really happened, who flooded it? I don't know. But the point is, and, the hills and the hells. But I wanted to say that you shouldn't worship anything, because that's that word worship. Why, that's from pirates, because the Illuminists there used to be some weird stuff with pirating going on, but it's warship, and that word ship has the word hip, HIP, which is a crazy word, because think about this. It's you got hippies, you got hip hop, you got hypnosis, you got ruhipna, and then that word hip is in like fellowship, and so it's got to do with ship, which is probably got to do with admiralty law, like, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But the point I'm trying to make, we're all hypnotized, you know, like it's a hypnosis going on, and the Bible uses like repetition, a lot of repetition or hypnotic repetition to put your mind in an alpha state and get you, like, it does do that. If you read it, you'll notice that it does that. And I also noticed that. Have you noticed? And David Icke.
It's really bad. It's, in fact, I've been reading recently that the Catholic Church, because if you've ever been to a Catholic church, is so freaking boring. People mostly fall asleep there. Well, it's because people in that catatonic state, people who are bored out of their mind, are very susceptible to hypnosis. So people are all sitting in church, not even paying attention. And in fact, did you know this? Before the last 100 years, all Catholic services were said in Latin with the priest facing the wall. So it was so boring that nobody knew what was being said or even facing the guy that was saying the mass. So talk about mind control. Is, you know, this is all by intent. It's a hypnosis game.
Yeah, and it's like they already tell you the none, so none of you guys are good enough, you know. But
Right.
I don't know. This is crazy. Like it is, and the Bible. Not to put it down too much, because that's why I want people to check out that website, because I believe that the Bible is kind of being used to keep people away, looking for where the source of that information is, and to look at the other masters and the other knowledge, the more ancient knowledge. So we get stuck, especially in the West, they get stuck on the Bible. That's all they know. So, and then they get told that everything, you know. But what if what if Jesus is part of a lineage of master gurus, and those are real, and you can actually. And maybe he's like a made-up one that kind of like a rewrite or something, you know, kind of like they made a fictional thing off of something real, but they're using that fictional thing to keep you from looking at all the real ones, you know, that have happened, and you can look them up, and they actually lived, but they're it's kept like so quiet, like you can't know about this stuff. It's almost like you're talking about remote viewing and how but it's a taboo subject and all that. Yeah, you can't know about certain stuff too much. So they got that going on with that. So I think the Bible is being used like as a straw man or a.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Is there any sound? Oh, see, it is a sound. All right. I'm going to let you go. That's actually a little more pleasant. I can deal with that. Thanks, bro. Let's go to, what does that say? Bastard Chris. Bastard Chris, welcome to the show. Good name you got there.
Thanks for having me on.
Let me turn off this music here. I like it, though. It's kind of cool.
For the record, the bastard part of my name is the acceptance that my parents, my biological parents, didn't have their relationship sanctioned by the church or the state.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and I apologize. I'm not calling in to necessarily address your question, but to.
How dare you?
I'm glad I'm not in that manner. But I'd like to say that to reach correct answers, we have to ask the right questions. And so I'd like to ask, like, how can we discern, or I'd like to posit the question, how can we discern if Yahweh is worshipable, or if Yahweh is a benevolent God? You know, what tools or what mechanisms, or, you know, how can we actually determine that?
You're asking me?
Well, I'm putting that question out there as a thought exercise. Like, how can we actually determine this?
It's because we know the difference between what is good and what is not through what was put inside of us, through that indwelling feeling, that indwelling morality. For instance, the book, the Bible does not say light is great and dark is bad. The Bible doesn't say some of the things that we know to be true, that justice is great and, you know, injustice is bad. Like, we just know. I mean, those things are inside you. They're not from the book. Anybody who's telling you that, maybe, and here's the thing I have to admit, maybe there's some NPCs that really do exist. Maybe there's some people that weren't born like me who don't have the same indwelling voice. That's possible. So I could be speaking solely on the fact that I know what inside me, that what's right and wrong. It's not one of those things where somebody will come and say, oh, well, you might think that raping is good, or you might want to go jerk off on somebody's lawn. No, I know those things inside. So if somebody does feel those things are right, then I disbelieve that. I disavow that. I don't believe anybody believes that it's good to go jerk off on somebody's lawn. Now, could they have started to do that because they just went against that voice over and over again? Yes, I do think that that's possible. So I do believe it is a question that can be asked, because if it's not a question that can be asked, then the creator would know that whatever kind of creator was in that book, we would have to worship. And that's ludicrous. That's
Indeed.
ludicrous.
And I would like to share the tool that I use.
Okay.
I fell for the indoctrination of Christianity, and I was actually 33, Jesus' age when he was killed, allegedly, when I discovered this thing called the non-aggression principle, or
Right.
also known as the non-aggression axiom. It's founded on self-ownership, which asserts that each individual has the highest claim to their life. So nobody else has a higher claim to your life than you. And through that, we get the non-aggression axiom, which posits that it is always wrong to initiate aggression.
Can I ask you one question based off that?
Oh, by all means.
So I kind of feel the same way, but I've come up with situations where I don't know what would happen in that if everybody did believe in the non-aggression principle. Let's say I rent my house to somebody. We agree, handshake, signature, whatever, he's going to pay me $600 a month to live there. So he lives there, and then all of a sudden he stops paying me. What happens then? If the non-aggression principle says I cannot forcefully remove him from the house, do I just lose my house because the guy just feels like not leaving?
Well, this might require more than 50 seconds to address. I would say that consent is continuous. That's my instinctual response. So you guys have made an agreement, and if he still consents to that agreement, then whatever response you had in your agreement, to a non-payment would be consensual and not the initiation of aggression.
Okay,
that doesn't answer your question very well.
Well, but I mean, it's kind of what I feel. It's like I agree with the non-aggression principle. However, if you do wrong, then you should probably expect aggression if it's warranted, right?
Indeed,
yeah.
Yep.
So that's where I would. I think when people hear the non-aggression principle, they're kind of like, "Oh, live and let live," which is true as long as you aren't defrauding somebody or going against an agreement or going against what was decided, or right. Again, if you were to impact, because that's basically like taking somebody's property, right? So in the non-aggression principle, as soon as you go and take somebody's wife, now you were the aggressor. And so whatever comes back on you, I feel like you're going to have to deal with that. So the same thing is true. If you agree to rent my house, we have an agreement. You're going to rent my house for $600 a month. The second that you don't live up to that, you actually were the aggressor. You actually were putting that aggression towards me by stealing my property. So that's how I would say it.
Right.
But,
so to bring this into context, I would posit the question: does creation grant an exception to morality or an exception to the non-aggression principle?
To humans, does creation?
Well, not for God. Like, based on the non-aggression principle, if God wants an exception, which is to this,
I see what you're saying.
Eternity. Like, for him to have that right, there have to be an explanation for that double standard.
Well, and then here's the crazy thing about people is they would just say, no, he deserves that. He deserves that right. He gets that right because it's God.
And on that basis, then parents have the same right over their children.
Right, which we don't believe. So,
right.
Yep. Okay, great. I appreciate
Thanks
that call. It's fantastic. Yep. Let me just see. I don't understand. Spepham says, Jaron, not just an indwelling feeling, but our moral compass. There you go. Thank you. Which is the 10 Commandments that the Lord himself wrote within the hearts of all mankind. Okay, you've just taken an extra step to say you believe that. Be Right With Allegedly Dave is up next. And we Allegedly Dave are going to do a show. I believe we said Monday at, no, I don't remember, 9. We'll bring him on. Dave, I thought we were going to do a show.
Yeah, I thought, though I said I'd come on and
I didn't know that.
And try and ask you a question.
Did you say that? I didn't even see that. All right, good. Welcome to the show. Everybody, Allegedly Dave, where are you going to be on November 11th, Allegedly Dave?
I'm going to be in St. Lucia.
Where are you going to be live? Where can people find you on November 11th?
Oh,
Way to go. I set that up for you, man. I threw
I'm
you a
gonna-
softball, too.
I'm going to be at the summit. I'm going to be
Thank you. Okay,
giving
great.
some talk or something.
It's going to be awesome. He's going to be one of the speakers at the summit. So check it out November 11th and 12th. Go to temms.live. All right. You have a question for me, you said?
Well, no, so it's not a question. I wanted to answer your question.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you. Let's answer the question of why I should worship YHWH. And it is real
Right,
quick. I
so-
know you're it's kind of a scholar on this. Why do I also see YHWH?
because there is no direct translation between
Okay.
the letter wow and V, and it's translated in V or W or B sometimes.
Okay. Because I've seen it. If you search YHWH, it'll come up and say this the Tetragrammaton, which is weird because it's like, well,
Yeah.
isn't it YHWH? Okay, got you. Go ahead.
So the problem is you're seeing all this through the lens of Christianity, and all these religions, as you correctly say, are control systems.
Right.
Yeah. So they're there to keep you away from the truth, and the truth is upsetting to a lot of people because it's not about everyone. It's about a group of people called the Israelites, because essentially the story is that that Most High created Adam, and that bloodline was messed up, and the Most High tried to get back to the bloodline of Adam, and he did so with the Israelites, and he's protecting his creation. That's basically. I mean,
so who are the other
I'm
people?
obviously-
We are not. How are we born?
Well, here's the thing: we can't look at somebody and say you are so and so, and you, because it's this everything's messed up. But yeah, the other people came from. There's a chapter, is it Genesis 6:4
Okay.
says how angels came down and had sex with women and created a second bloodline. Now, the bloodthirstiness that you don't like so much is because let me ask you this: if you've seen the film Alien, yeah, imagine if there was a village full of those aliens,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the Most High said, "You better get rid of these things." Would you hesitate in killing every last, male, female, and egg?
Am I a person or am I a god?
No, you as a person.
Oh,
And you've been told,
sure.
these
But I would
things-
think that it's the
these things
best.
are bad.
We should get rid of them. We should kill them.
Right. That's what he was doing. He was saying,
Okay, but time
These
out.
things-
He's a god. He's not a person. So therefore, he has the ability to snap his fingers and make them disappear. He doesn't need to resort to human-like behavior and flood people and kill them.
down here, we have free will,
Hmm.
right? They have free will down here. And what the Most High is doing is actually just giving hints to his people and saying, you've got choice, but I'm telling you, this is about what you should do. And you know what? As I said, we've got the 10 Commandments written on our hearts. As you said, most people have them written on their hearts. They know when they're doing wrong. It's uncomfortable to do wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Even without the
Um,
book, though, yeah?
But the book is there to just underline it. Say, look,
Right.
if you,
But it's also
just in
based
case
on a
you don't
time period,
know,
right? There's a reason why rape isn't in the Bible. And it's because,
it is.
well, I mean, it's not in the 10 Commandments. But there's a reason for that.
It's not just the 10 Commandments, though.
Okay.
You'll find it's laws, statutes, and commandments. Right? Look through the first 5 books.
So wait, you
It tells
follow
about
all those
sexual
rules?
immorality.
You don't follow
Sorry?
you don't follow those rules though anymore.
Yes, I do.
You bring a turtle dove to the church and break its neck?
No, because we can't do that. We can't do that in captivity. This is a big story that I can't really do in
Well, it's
4
good. I'm glad
minutes.
that we're going to be talking Monday. We can get into it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't believe in the New Testament. You believe that is a trick?
New Testament was made up. Okay, just very quickly. So the Hebrew scriptures are real. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what the religions did, or a group of people, a nation of people did, was they took the book they wrote their own book and put it on top and weaved a religion around it. So they did that with the New Testament, right? The same group created another book, put it on top of the Hebrew scriptures. They called that the Quran, and they wove a religion around that. Another group, the Ish people, took the same book, put their own book, the Talmud, on it, and they wove their religion around that. It's the same religion. It's the same religion. It's a pagan religion, and it's a religion of, the black cube that the Muslims walk around, right? That represents Saturn or Satan or one of the fallen angels. The Ish people have, the fundamentalists wear a black cube on their heads. And if you unfold the cube, you get a cross. Same religion.
Yeah, I've seen that. Okay, well, thanks, Dave. I look forward to Monday.
Okay.
Thanks.
Me
Peace.
too.
All right, we've got
Bye.
Eyes to See up next. Eyes to See, welcome to the show.
What's up, brother?
By the way, if I don't have the picture on the screen, it's because they're not showing me their image, just so people know. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And I'll get to the phones next. If somebody's on the phone line, wait there. I'll be right with you.
New show, reset rules, I'm guessing. That's why Sacred Knowledge called in. So
Correct, yes. You have 4 minutes. This is totally different. We can pretend the last show didn't happen. Go ahead.
Right on. Yeah, just the corner off what allegedly Dave was just saying about the cube. Yeah, in the Muslim culture, they walk around in circles around a big giant cube. If you go to Israel, they wear the little cubes on their heads, which is funny. And then, yes, the cross is, if you unfold it or fold it, it is a cube. So, which I find interesting. What I wanted to do is tell a quick story.
Okay.
I've told you, I think it was the first time you ever did Speaker's Corner. So my father's a pastor. My wife grew up a Seventh-day Adventist. We had at the time we lived in Las Vegas, and we made a trip out to Hawaii, Oahu, and I just tickets and a hotel and everything for an extra 2 days for just me and her to go to Maui, while the kids stayed with the grandparents. And having a beautiful time. We were sitting there having lunch, and we were leaving on a Sunday, right? Early Sunday morning. So Saturday, in Seventh-day Adventist, Saturday is a Sabbath. So they observe Saturday as a Sabbath. So I brought to her attention, well, maybe on Saturday we can all go to the beach because it's the last day we're going to be here and just hang out. We're not doing anything. We're just chilling. We're just going to go to the beach and just chill. She took offense to that and pretty much ruined the rest of the trip. Right? It was this big long thing.
Because what would she want to do? Just stay in the room or something?
They're not allowed to do any. You can't wash your clothes. You can't cook food. You can't go shopping. You can't. Right, but none of this is in the book. Right, so this is all stuff that they've just made up
observing
along
the
way.
Sabbath is, but what day that is questionable.
What day is that? Yeah, is that Saturday? How do we know Saturday is that day? 1, 2. It doesn't specifically say you shall not do this, that, or the other. Right? They've added so many different things.
Right. Even Jesus was out picking corn, and in fact, I think if you really look into it, Jesus was actually stealing corn. So it's not his corn to take. It wasn't his field. He just went out in the field and started taking people's corn. But again, Jesus never sinned, so I guess it couldn't be stealing.
Very interesting. Hey, but it's God. He can do what he wants, right?
Right. So you can't question.
So it's not stealing.
It's not stealing. It's God.
So I briefed over that story to tell a new story. This is from yesterday. So I told you when we talked about this last time, I told you that we'll still bring my kids to church sometimes for the children's activities. Right? They do all kinds of activities, hang out with the children. They do music, they draw, they sing, etc. Blah blah. Well, in this, so yesterday, we're all hanging out in the house, having a good night, and next thing you know, my 6-year-old son. So my 6-year-old son has a little doll, a little stuffed animal. It's a Yoshi doll, right? He loves that Yoshi doll. Carries him everywhere he goes. Everything he does, he has the Yoshi doll in his arms. And
cute.
He started saying, he's like, Dad, what happens when God burns the earth? And does Yoshi? He starts crying. He's crying. Right? Is Yoshi gonna come up to heaven with us, or does he burn? And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I look over my wife. I was like, this is that shit right here that I was talking about. Like, this is that shit. My son is sitting here crying because he thinks that God's gonna come torch the earth and is gonna burn Yoshi, and now he's in tears about it. if you listen to some of the, I don't know where he heard that, because typically in like the children's story time hour, they don't talk about that kind of stuff. They kind of pick and choose what they talk about. And then as you get older, you delve into like more of the revelations kind of stuff. Like, this is not a children's book. All right. And so church is supposed to be wholesome. That's how they sell people on it. It's supposed to be this wholesome, loving place, but then if you actually read what the religion was built off of, it's anything but wholesome and loving. It's insane, really. And it does things like that, bringing a 6-year-old into tears because when God comes down and burns the earth, like, that's not what we should be putting into children's minds, in my opinion.
No, and
I think there's way more positive things we could be doing with the young minds of the young youth of our world than inputting this.
Yeah, totally. I mean, people have always asked, well, if you're not going to raise your son Christian, what are you going to raise him? Atheist? No, there's better ways to raise I'm going to teach my son that each and every person that he comes in contact with is the creator, is in a small piece of the creator. And you must treat each person like that. And you don't teach them segregation. I mean, I wonder why people are racist unless there's some God who seems to have favoritism, some God that likes only a certain people, doesn't like other people. He's going to save his people, his chosen people. That's not good doctrine, and I don't believe the creator put not good doctrine here.
So I mean, if they were written thousands of years ago, then you could say that's the earliest text of racism, to teach racism, that one people are special more than other people. It also taught, I hear a lot of Christians, people like Jim Bob, go off about circumcision, yet in the book that he believes,
did he not even mention
God
that?
Tells you,
I heard that too, but in passing it because I don't want to listen to him go on and on. I'll get.
No, he's always talked about chopping the pee-pee, and how he makes fun of it basically, and it's like, bro, it's in the book that you say I cannot question.
Right, I thought that's where it came from. Oh, that's crazy.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you. I appreciate it. We got all kinds of calls. It's going to be a fun night, but I do appreciate you calling in, and glad you see it. All right, take it easy.
Please.
Is this next person a priest? Oh, I thought. Sorry, from the little picture there, I thought it was a white collar you were wearing in a crucifix. Welcome to the show. I hate to tell you this, but I kind of think now when I see that chain on people, I think it's a leash. Just telling you. I know you don't want to hear that, but
hello.
Good. I'm gonna start your clock here.
Does the mic work?
Yes, you work fine. Me? I hear you great.
All right. I'm not sure why I'm here. I just noticed that you have an online stream and you have the question, why should I believe, or why should anybody believe in a Yahweh or YHWH or whatever? For me personally, it was the flat earth who brought me into the Bible. And I finally find out that the earth doesn't move. The earth is stationary, and all the stars and moving stars are moving above us, and lots of things happening there. And also I read a little bit the book of Enoch, and there are lots of things happening there. But the question why to believe in any God is to get a meaning of life. For me personally, I became a Christian 5 years ago after finding out the earth is flat. So my path to eternal life through the Jesus was the flat earth. That's why, to me, first to believe in a Bible and kind of to believe in a flat earth. So that's my position.
Gotcha. Do you think that there could be, though, think about it, could there be a reason why they would want us to, if we ever did find the flat earth, that the very first thing we would see is that it matches Christianity, and then we would be stuck in that belief system? Right. So my problem is, again, I tell people all the time, I went to a Jesuit high school and Jesuit Catholic high school. And I realize now the reason why they taught us the way they did is because they want you in a belief system. They don't care if it's religion. They don't care if it's science, because when you're in a belief system, you are not a threat to anybody. You're not a threat to anybody. You don't even have your own thoughts. You have you believe something that somebody has taught you to believe. So for me, I just want to tell you that I also came back to God because of the flat earth. It's what woke me up to the fact that we are created, that we are special, that we are the center of the universe. But the problem with that ended when I realized that the book itself is not describing the creator, and therefore I didn't throw away flat earth. You can see that's everywhere. But I've never seen Jesus. I've never seen God. I've never seen the people who wrote it. God's never told me that I should believe in the book. So the very first thing to go would be a belief that that book was definitely written by God. So just letting you know, maybe
All
you'll come
right.
to that realization, maybe not. Again,
Yeah.
if you feel comfortable in it, I'm just trying to put something on the screen right here for everyone to see because I want to put this here. Okay, just 1 second.
One thing for
There we
me
go. Now it's better.
personally is also I want to mention I'm an alcoholic. So I think it's 18 years since that I prayed help to my alcoholism, and I got directed. I call it to the AA, Anonymous Alcoholics, and I've been sober for 18 years without any alcohol.
Good job.
And I call that a miracle because I was so in love with alcohol. It meant everything to me. It was like a purpose of the life was the alcohol.
But when you prayed to quit, you wanted to. Obviously.
No, I didn't want to quit. I wanted to continue my drinking, but I wanted to help in some kind of way. My prayer was very short. It was help me.
Right.
I went to the church and I sat there and asked help. And in 2 weeks, I found myself in an AA meeting.
Good.
After that, I've been sober. So that is one proof for me. Why should I believe in a God? Because I have this personal kind of intervention in my life. I believe that he helped me.
So there's so if somebody had the same story, but they said they prayed to a muskrat and it came true, would you then accept them saying that they now believe in the muskrat as their God because the muskrat helped them quit drugs?
I don't know. Like I said, it's a personal
right. So
that
you're describing exactly what I believe, that we are a piece of the Creator. You have the ability to do the things that you're asking outside yourself for it to be done. Now, luckily, we have such power that when you asked that, you manifested the results that you wanted. You brought that upon yourself. You're giving that glory to something else, but really it was you. Ultimately, God never came down and knocked a bottle out of your hands. You did.
Yeah.
It. So you should give yourself more credit. You are the one who did that.
Yeah, that's the point where I don't believe that I did anything. I believe that's my faith. I put my trust in that God helped me in that point because I've tried to get sober so many times.
So imagine that you're the Creator, you create a bunch of beings and one of them down there on his own quit drinking, but for some reason says, no, I can't do that on my own. I give glory to God. Do you think God is impressed with that person? Or do you think that he would be more impressed if that human being realizes that they are the ones who did it? God doesn't need your glory. He's God. So his glory would be you having that self-realization, not giving him accolades for things that he didn't do. He didn't do that.
Yeah.
So that's just me.
All right. I think my time is up. So It was nice talking to you.
You too.
I appreciate all the work you do and
thank you.
God bless you.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Let me check the chat real quick because I see some people making some comments. Did you guys see the fake sign? I couldn't stand there. Couldn't listen to him talk anymore unless I got rid of the globe there. So I just put a fake thing on there. It's hilarious. We've got if you don't know, I know I see him in there. Riku, what I did is I wrote the word fake with an arrow pointing at the globe behind you. And then, so when you were talking, there was an arrow pointing at the globe behind you that said fake. Sorry, I didn't tell you. We were having a conversation. Okay, good. Benny Boy says kind of the same thing. In AA, there is a step called to believe in a power greater than myself. Right. So actually, there's another thing. There's another trap inside of Alcoholics Anonymous that makes you believe it's not you. Makes you believe that it's not you who did it. One time, my wife's mom, my son's grandma, my mother-in-law, whatever you call them, my mother-in-law called and told us like she was having trouble rewiring or redoing a screen door. You know, you have to like redo a screen door when it breaks. Okay. So like a couple hours later, she finally called. She goes, "Oh, finally, you know, I never would have done that on my own if it wasn't for Jesus. So thank Jesus for," and we're like, "What are you talking about? Jesus did not help you redo a screen door." How do I know these things are true? It's because I've listened to now in the last 7-8 years, enough people from every religion tell me the same story. Rob Skiba's got stories about why he believes in God because God and Jesus came to him and did these things. I've had Muslim after Muslim come to me and say they believe in the Quran and Allah because Muhammad came to them and did this, this, and this. Guess what? Find a Native American and they'll tell you they believe in the in the river god because the river god granted them this, or that. Now you'll start to realize that everybody on the earth is just blind to their own abilities, number one. And number two, giving credit to beings outside. Like, for instance, do I believe in Satan? No. Satan means the adversary. It means, you got a devil and an angel on your shoulders, and it's that bad path is Satan. There is no being Satan going around. Why wouldn't he just be killing people? Why wouldn't he just be doing damage everywhere? And you're like, oh, he is. Oh, but sometimes he doesn't, and it's nonsense. But here's the thing about Satan. People like George Bush, do they worship Satan? I believe they do. I believe that they do. Oh, fuck, I'm on YouTube. So I think that just like if you pray to God, if I prayed to God right now and I said, God, I want to have my son cured of his allergies, right? And I wake up tomorrow and his allergies aren't cleared. And the next day they're not cleared. Okay, what I've been taught is that means that either it's not in God's will or there's some part of his plan that needs to be worked out, not a way I want. Okay, great. So what we've done there is we've created a being, God, who can never be held responsible for either allowing or not allowing certain prayers. When it does come true, we give God credit. When it doesn't, we say we give God credit that he must be doing it for a reason. Do you recognize that people who believe in Satan would be under the same trap? If the Bushes went and they got together at the beginning of the year and they said, all right, Satan, we want more money. We want more oil deals with Saudi Arabia. We want to drop 2 buildings. 3 buildings. Can we do that, please? We will sacrifice this baby towards you and we will praise your name behind these closed doors. Okay, great. So that year goes by and guess what? They're able to get everything they wanted. The money comes to them. They get more oil deals in Saudi Arabia and they drop buildings. Now, do you think that they're going to recognize that maybe that wasn't Satan who did that? No. They're going to go into the next year and do another seance and another sacrifice and another cremation of care. Okay. Now, if those things don't come true, if they pray for those things and they don't happen, they do the same thing that Christians do or anybody praying to God do. They accept it as it wasn't the right time. That the almighty Satan has a more clear understanding of the world than they do, or they need to worship harder. They need to sacrifice more babies. So what you have is an entire world that thinks they're praying to gods and getting things from gods and not getting things from gods, and they're getting corrupted by Satan and corrupted by demons and stigmatas from it, and it's all you. It's all you and yourself. That's it. There is no outside entities. Now, I believe humans are extremely powerful. If you go in your garage and paint a pentagram, read the Bible backwards, say a seance that you want Azazel to come and enter your body, I don't doubt that can happen. Okay? That doesn't mean that there isn't Azazel. It means that humans are so much more capable than we know, and we've been misdirected. We've had our attention turned from how great we are. They turn that so that no matter what, we give credit elsewhere. Because if you give credit elsewhere, you are never... So you got people that have different channels out there who think they're not worthy. I could never do something on my own. I could never do that. This guy, I could never quit alcohol on my own. Wrong, buddy. You did. You did. God does not come down and only allow those who pray to stop drinking. That's a decision you made. You got to the end of the rope and realized you wanted to change your life. Thank goodness for that. Let me just look at the chat a couple times. Do we have anybody else waiting? 3 eyes is on. Okay, 1 second, I'll be with you. Oh, I said I was going to get to the phones. My bad. Let me get to the phone call real quick. And where's my phone line? Is it open? Ready? The show has ended. Sorry, if you tried to call in, you weren't able to. I don't think that my shows, host show, start show, go show, ready.
Ready to connect.
Thank you.
Click connect to show now.
All right, so the phone line is open if you want to call in. Boom.
Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the Call-in Studio web interface.
3 eyes, whoever that is, you don't have your devices connected, so you cannot play the game tonight. Let me look over here, just see if there's anybody. And if you want to ask me a question or say something to me, please use the @ tag so I can find them. I can't read everything. YHWH separated the waters, not Jesus. Who's seen the firmament hit today in California around 6 p.m.? I haven't seen that launch yet. Hence Jeranism. He is his own throne standing in the judgment of God. If that's what you want to say, I'm saying God, the creator, the one that's in each and every person, okay? The one who created all that you see. Guess what? I didn't create anything that you see besides my son. Okay? Well, let's be honest. I created this show. I created the wall behind me. I created the design for my logo. Okay, so those things. But as far as creating things out of nothing or creating things through, I don't even want to say through thought. Sometimes we can do that as well. So that's the ultimate creator. That's the supreme God. That's the source of everything. Okay. Now, I'm not even going to say that that's not that, because people then ask, well, who created that God? That's a ridiculous question, because all we know is time. So let's say that there's a world that we don't even know about where gods exist. Okay. But they're allowed at any time to step outside of that realm and create time. They're in a non-time world. They're just, I don't know what gods do. We're not allowed to know that. Okay. Then they come here and they can, or come here. I say come here. They're not actually going anywhere. They just step out of non-time and they create time. And whatever that God is doing, or whatever they're testing, or whether they're proving themselves to themselves, I don't know what they're doing. We wouldn't know that. Okay. But what we do know is that from the moment we are created, that we are past a certain morality. Period. Now, what happens with the people on this earth with that morality, we don't know. We don't know. But I do believe that at the end of this, whatever it ends, for whatever reason it ends, God will simply step back out of time. So is there a beginning and the end of the world? Well, this world, yes. And you can't say what happened before that, because there is no before that. There is no time. So there's a timeless world. And then you step out of that and create time. Now there's time, and so we might look back and say, oh, the earth looks like it's really old, or it looks like it's really young. Well, again, for a creator God to step out of time and make whatever creation he wants, well, whatever he wanted could make it happen, right? So if he thinks, let's have all these things on earth, well, if they, for instance, to make trees, since trees on this creation of earth grow from a seed, then if he created a world that already had trees, you would have to have had the time before that, but it doesn't exist for God. So the world would just be created with trees. But if we went and counted the rings would be there. You see what I'm saying? Because they had to have been, that's part of his creation. So here we are, little earth beings who are trying to figure things out and figure out the age of the earth and figure out, and I just don't think it's even really feasible or possible. But that's, regardless, those are all just my thoughts. They're not, nobody should believe that, because it's just how I feel. And you might say, well, it's just all what you feel. Well, yeah, when I'm given a book and told that it's the creator, but the book is not describing a God who would ever give morality to people and expect, because again, I've talked about a husband who has a wife who he tells, if you leave me, I'm going to kill you. If you go with any other man, I'm going to kill you. Only worship me, only love me. And then he has some good commandments, like, and we should be nice to other people, and we should give to the homeless, and we should give to the poor, and we should love each other as our brothers, and we should love our neighbors, and we should always do good. And okay, great. But if that wife stays with him, then we need to recognize that none of that is impressive. Her love for him is called Stockholm Syndrome. It's not real love. Okay. She's forced into that love, and it's not impressive. It's actually disgusting. And the man is a disgusting person himself. He should want love because of who he is, not because he says so. Now, we recognize that in a man, but you give different rules to God. You're like, oh, well, yeah, that's true of the man. But with God, we have to allow him to be that asshole husband who says, worship any other God, do anything else, and I'll burn you for eternity, or I'll erase you from history, or whatever he's going to do. Or you get to the reward of heaven, which we don't even know what that is. Nobody's ever told us. It's just guesswork at this point. So I believe this is a testing ground. Somebody's asking me who my creator is. This is a testing ground. I don't know if I'm supposed to reveal this information, but I do know that just like the flat earth, I put it out there. People can either look at it and say, oh, I see your point. Let me go off in this direction, or they can wholesale deny it. Okay. Either one. That's fine with me. You do what you want. You will ultimately be held responsible for your choices. So I'm telling you that we're always given these black and white, duality things that we have to choose one or the other. It's either this or that. It's either religion or science, and you need to recognize that we are being fooled so much that none of those can be true. None of them. So the best place to be is in the middle, where you can judge every single thing on its merit, as it's presented to you. Not ever fall into the trap of these guys on these other channels who like to say that we are to believe in the God that wrote the book because he said he wrote the book. And if it's written by the church fathers who have taken the time to look at it, it's just ridiculous. Why would you ever fall for that trap of we have to believe in the book no matter what it says. Do you realize the deception that can be had there? That anybody could write a book. And again, the only rule I'll change is if the book was perfect. If the book was perfect, it would be pretty hard for me to imagine a book being perfect. It would kind of lead to divinity. You'd be like, the only way you could ever get a book perfectly all the way through, because how would you know that something's not going to change? No, but the book is not perfect. And there is no prophecies that are coming true. And it's a book meant to trap you. Let's go to Three Eyes. You're finally there. Okay. Three Eyes, what's up?
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
Good. Starting your clock. Go ahead.
That's tight. Nice. Hey, I wanted to talk about Buddhism mostly. So,
Okay.
they say that we're here on Earth to suffer, and that we're in this loop of just constant birth and death, and basically, God created us. I don't know. It's kind of like we are God, and God is like just having an experience through all of us, and yeah, I don't know.
That's. I mean,
but
that
yeah, like,
sounds right to me. I mean, again, I know a lot of people describe it as we are God, but we forgot. It's not that we forgot. It's that we've been tricked, grossly tricked, massively tricked to where now when we ask for something and it comes true, we think an outside source. Or when we work on a project and it comes through like we want it to, we think somebody else. When we need help with our current life situations, we look for a guru, we look for a pastor, we look for a priest, we look for everything other than the true source of everything, which is inside you.
yes, sir. That's called the spark of life. So,
Right. We wouldn't even be living
that's
without it.
our consciousness, and that's
Correct.
what's creating reality.
Correct.
And it's hard to comprehend and it's hard to imagine, but we are the creator.
Correct.
But it's like,
And this is why they force feed you with nonsense, is because if the whole world starts believing in the crap that the media puts out there, like certain ailments or certain sicknesses, if they put it out there and we're so fucking dumb that people start buying into it, then it becomes something.
yes, sir. Like the Stockholm syndrome you were talking about. But they say it's hermetics. So the hermetic says that everything is the mind. And I think that's like a really good foundation of teachings to like spread to the world. They say that hermetics can be found in like almost all the religions,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pretty cool. But yeah, basically everything is just it's like energy and frequencies that are being interpreted by your mind, kind of in a way, but through
Yeah, I mean,
the observer.
I'm totally anti-simulation because I think that's just a dumb word. But things are solid. I mean, people say like, "Oh, they're not solid." No, it is solid. I mean, you can try and run through that wall as many times as you want, and you're going to hit it. You're a physical being here in a physical world where there's things that are physical. So to call that a simulation is a little iffy to me.
I feel you. That's where the quantum mechanics comes in, because through the observer effect, that's where it takes the energy and the chemicals and the frequencies and it turns it into solid matter.
Huh.
And our bodies are like the interface. We're like the computer that's creating like how a computer creates a video through zeros and ones.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Earth is being projected through our consciousness. It's not really it's kind of like a movie projection a little bit.
Yeah, that's funny. So if that was the belief, then the idea of what if a tree falls in the middle of the woods, does anybody hear it? The answer would be no.
I feel you on that. I think the answer is still yes, because we live in an objective reality. You know, like blue.
But I thought you said it's the thought of the people around it that is creating the solidity.
I think it's the thought of God that's creating the solidity. So God's like the dark matter. It's like the glue that's holding our reality together, that makes everything solid.
I can agree with that.
I'm sorry?
I said I can agree with that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, nice. But yeah, so that's just basically where my mind is at, is that through the ego. So yeah, the Buddhists call it the ego. They say that that's why we're lost. You said earlier that we're all lost. And that's what the Buddhists say, that we're lost because of the ego, that humans all have an ego, and it's trying to tell us that we're not God when subconsciously we know that we're all God.
Yeah, so people might get confused on that because they think when you say ego, it's supposed to be like you shed yourself but you are an emanation of God. So it's not a matter of getting rid of your ego. It's more a matter of remembering, recognizing who you are. Right? Because if you realize that you're timeless, that you also are the creator, and I don't mean you are the creator, I mean that we're all a piece. The only way I've heard it described best is like a jigsaw puzzle, right? A jigsaw puzzle has a picture on the front of it that's a beautiful landscape. Okay, it's got a bridge and some flowers, whatever. But inside the box is a mess. It's a disaster. It's full of just pieces. And really, none of those pieces are impressive. None of those pieces by themselves can do much. You could put it on the table and look at it and be like, cool, a corner piece, big deal. But as you start to put those together, something starts to emerge. And so I truly believe that this is why home teams win baseball games more than they win away games. Again, you have to be careful on that because people say, well, why don't every home team win? Well, because if the crowd believes that their team is going to lose or knows they're going up against a better team, then they are projecting that onto the players. And so I believe that we actually can bring, this is why in any sport it counts. There's no sport that can say, oh, we don't have a home field advantage. Even sports where the field's the same. A basketball arena is a basketball arena. A basketball hoop is 10 feet, 10 feet. And it can't all be the crowd, or again, then they would win every game. So it's more a matter of us actually willing things to happen. So I believe that if we all got together, if we all showed up in a country in Africa, every person on the earth got together, that our power would be so strong that the dome would open and God would come down and say, congratulations, you have won the game. No, I'm not kidding. I'm kidding about that. But, but I'd be willing to try it.
That'd be awesome. That's a really great experiment.
Yeah, and I think that we can experiment with this. But I mean, people should do the rice experiment. The fact that you can change the constitution of rice through your voice is exactly what we're told the world was created through. The world was created through vibration, through voice. Why is it that I can take cooked rice and I can put it in 3 jars, neutral, love, hate, and I can speak loving words to the love rice and hate words to the hate rice, and at the end of a month, the hate rice is clearly molding and disgusting, and the love rice is sitting there perfect as can be. What is that if it's not an unharnessed? And here's the thing about science. Science will never observe that. Why? Because science doesn't believe in anything that you can't quantitate. So since you can't write down on a research paper how much love I put into that jar, and you can't write down how much hate, they just erase it. And if everything that is because of that line of thinking, then we've been reduced to look at everything in a quantitative way. And that's part of the trick. Science is tricking you. Religion is tricking you. Your pastor tricked you. Your teacher tricked you. Even your parents sadly tricked you because they were also tricked. NASA's tricking you. The TV's tricking you. The news is tricking you. Everything is meant to take away from that one solid truth, which is we are capable of more than anybody will admit.
That's amazing, bro. That's also what the Buddhists say, is that this world is just a distraction from God. So God created this world just so it could be distracted, and so it doesn't have to like focus on itself, you know? And that's like really interesting what you say, because here on earth, they're trying to distract us and capture our attention. But what are they trying to capture our attention for? And what do they not want us to think about?
Well, it's
most likely.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, it's most likely ourselves and like these deeper truths that come through. I always think about, so the Buddhists also talk about the Akashic records, which is just a field of information where all the knowledge in the universe is supposed to come to you.
Right.
But if you're constantly inundated with a bunch of information and they're constantly capturing your attention and filling your mind with just frequencies and stuff, then you're not able to tap into that.
Did you watch my stream on remote viewing?
Was it recently?
Yes, maybe 3 months ago, 2 months ago or something. You might want to check it out. We did it twice, and it's because the first time I didn't really believe it. And I don't want people to trust me. So I encourage you to reach out to one of those people, either Sasha or the guy that did it, Naeem, and try and see if they will prove it to you. Because here's what happened. I thought of something. I looked through a magazine until I found something that I wanted to focus my energy on. I focused my thoughts on that. I put that picture in an envelope, and then I wrote on the envelope a made-up number. I forgot what it was, L705, whatever. So then I told them it's L705, and they said, okay, we'll get back to you in a couple days. A couple days go by, they get back to me, we're ready, we have a show, and they freaking draw what I was looking at, what I was thinking about. Now, the way that they've described it that works well for me, because I didn't believe it before. And I'm not even saying I fully believe it now, but it matches a lot of what I think, right? So here's when you talked about the Akashic records. So the way that she described it to me, that I was like, wow, that's brilliant, is imagine that in the sky, in the Akashic records, there's a bunch of little library drawers, right? Again, I'm just describing it for a thought. This doesn't mean I believe that there's library drawers in the sky. But if we just are confused and lost and we don't know what we're doing, you can't tune into anything. You're just lost. But when you focus it down to now, I'm thinking of a library drawer, L705S. And now I pass that on to her. And she talks to Naeem, and they go and they sit in a room, they erase all their thoughts, and they just focus on that number. And guess what? There's nobody who can say that what they drew, because here's another thing. What they drew on the second night would have not been correct on the first night, and what they drew on the first night wouldn't have been correct on the second night. You should see the circle that they drew that is the exact circle I put into the envelope of the Grand Canyon. So what it tells me is that I believe that just like Dr. Emoto, found that water has memory and that water reacts to people's thoughts. And so everything, I think that there's water everywhere, right? Water is the atmosphere. So we can actually transmit thoughts through that medium. We just don't know how to do it. And when we sit down and we put it in that drawer, remember, I'm thinking about that drawer and they're looking in that drawer. And if we both erase everything else from our minds, what do you know? They were able to read my mind. So is that the truth? Well, here's the problem with anybody who believes in science or any skeptical person. You don't want to deal with them because they already don't believe, right? So you can't have somebody like who believes in science test that. Why? If I told somebody who believes in science or Red's rhetoric, go look at this rice jar, and you say good thing, and then what he'll do, he won't even do it, and he'll come back a week later and be like, you fucking idiots, it doesn't work, right? Because they already don't want it to work. So people in this chat already, they don't want that to be true. You know? Jaron, just to reiterate, yes, because God gave us the ability to speak life and death onto creates and things as why he told us to be righteous with our words and actions. Okay. Anyway, go ahead. I'll let you finish. Is your clock up? Your clock's up, yeah.
If we could just imagine that all of our consciousness is connected through a field of consciousness, and that's God. So there's like a 0 point field where all life comes from, and that's like pre-Big Bang conditions, like whatever caused the Big Bang. And that's essentially what's going on right now in these altered states. Whenever I do psychedelics, I feel like I just disconnect from my body and I'm able to reach these 0 point fields of energy where, I don't know.
So
like,
here's the thing. Here's my belief
time.
about DMT and these drugs. I don't do them for this reason, that I think that it's better to try and get there without it. Because maybe not. Maybe it's not better. But what I mean is if you do those things and then what you're doing is basically blocking the indoctrination, right? Which is good. It's good. But I believe they can have harmful effects. Now, I don't know that. I can't test that. I can't tell you that. But I do think that like if you did a bunch of cocaine or something, your mind is then altered to the point where you kind of forget those blocks that have been put there. And you actually think all of a sudden, now you think like somebody who does DMT, they start thinking like, I'm going to meet this other world. I'm going to go other places. So you've now opened yourself up to that, something that you weren't open to before, right? So that's what I kind of think is going on there.
Yeah, that makes 100% sense. I feel you on that. That's one of the fundamental things that I have wrong with Buddhism is that Buddhism, one of the Buddhist teachings, they tell you not to have any physical attachments to earth, and basically being a Buddhist is having an attachment to earth. So I don't really get that. I find fault in that.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna let you go, but thank you. Good talk.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Have a great night.
Peace. All right, let's check the phones real quick because I did say I'd get there. I don't want anybody waiting. Okay, we got a call. Number 505. Welcome. I'm going to start your clock. I know you can't see it.
Oh.
Howdy.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, my God. Hi, Jen. This is Kat.
Hi, Kat.
Hi. I wanted to add to the conversation. This is a very broad conversation that I love, I adore. And I get into the theory of manifestation like you.
Okay.
And you know, yeah, it's a beautiful thing when Well, I ran across this quote that said, all of life is but this one eternal moment of now. Okay, we shouldn't be thinking about the past or the future. We need to be focused on the here and the now. And they say that after you pass and you go to the other side, it's still the same. I mean, you still have consciousness, but it's all about this one eternal moment of now. You're an energy being, and you will move on according to what we know about energy. Okay, so my best friend, she once came up and told me that they found a piece of papyrus that is at the Harvard University of Divinity. This piece of papyrus, they tested it and they came out.
You're breaking up. Slow down. You're roboting real bad.
Oh shoot!
Give it 2 seconds.
I'm gonna go outside.
Okay, yeah, you're just.
Okay, are you there?
Yep, try now.
Okay, great. Okay, so Harvard School of Divinity. There's Dr. Karen King found there was a piece of papyrus, and it said, when he translated the Coptic writing on it, it was Jesus that was speaking. He said, "My wife, she is worthy." Okay, so I was like almost dancing on top of my coffee table here. I went to church, right? You know, the little Calvary, you know, over here, and I go up to my pastor and I say, "Okay, they found a piece of papyrus and they're labeling it the Gospel of Jesus' wife. Anybody can go and look this up. The Gospel of Jesus' wife." Now, Dr. Karen King said that it's not proof that Jesus had a wife, but that people at that time believed that he had a wife. But it looked like they had ripped that page out of a book, like it was one of those missing pages.
Mm-hmm.
So I go up to my pastor and I say, okay, I give him the details about the papyrus. I say, okay, Jesus had a wife. Go. And he says, well, she was like a prostitute. She traveled with them, and she, you know, like basically saying that she just washed his short hairs, you know. And I'm in New Mexico over here, so I'm going to.
You're roboting.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay. So back to what he said about, and it was Mary. Okay, in that piece of papyrus. Right. It was Mary Magdalene. Okay. So I said, you know, he said, well, he couldn't have had a wife. He couldn't have had a wife. Why? Because he was clean. It's like, oh, so he starts messing with a woman. I'm like dirty now.
You are dirty, especially if you're messed with during your period. You have to wait 7 days.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm dirty now. So yeah, that really just, it made me flinch so gosh darn bad. And so the next point that I was going to make is that these cute little old ladies in the supermarket, and they're just there quoting the Bible verbatim, and it's like, oh, that's real cute and everything, but you all missed it. Okay, all of you in Christian, you missed the freaking point. I hope you don't mind if I cuss.
Nope.
Jesus said, "Do not worship me. What I can do, you can do too." And all of that, like we say, well, what happened to him throughout his 33 years in that mystic school? You know, this is what I think would happen to him, okay? They murdered him. He knew the truth. He was out there telling people the truth.
Agree.
And they wanted to shut him up.
Agree. And they even went further than that. They co-opted him and stole his ideas because they said, wait a second, who's this guy who has just shown up here and he's just talking, and all of a sudden people are following him? But they hated that because they said they've been trying for thousands of years to get people to do what YHWH was telling them to do, and they weren't, YHWH, and they weren't doing it. So they took the ideas that Jesus brought of love and loving your neighbor and doing all these things, and they turned it, and they also added pay your taxes and be complacent and let the government hang you and don't say anything about it and be turn the other cheek. But then they also wanted to scare people, so they added he'll come back and he's going to kill his enemies. It's so obvious. Jesus can't be the guy who tells you to love your enemies and then the guy who says he's going to come back and kill his enemies. Do you understand? That's a contradiction.
Now, this is what I told this very good friend of mine. He was my attorney. We grew up together, and he ended up dropping my case because of what I told him about the Catholic religion. I said, do you really understand what we did? We tortured that man. We tortured him. I'm a Pisces, so I get very, very emotional. I sometimes vicariously go back to that moment and try to understand what the hell literally we were doing. We tortured him in a satanic ritual. I came across a brass cross. I'm looking at it right now, and Jesus as a corpse hung with nails on a cross.
Yeah, it's a mockery.
We tortured. Right. It's like, do you understand? I told him, do you understand what you go and ask for forgiveness for? Okay, we fucked up.
Whoever's on the screen asking, what's the call-in number? Look at the screen. Look at the words that are on there. There's not that many. One of them tells you the call-in number. Go ahead.
Okay, so, yeah, Once you said that phone lines were open, I grabbed that number, bada bing, and I got right in. So, encouragement to those that are trying.
All right.
You know,
I gotta let you go though. Your time's up.
It's the
gotta let you go.
Symbolism behind. Huh?
I gotta let you go. Your time's up. I got a lot of people waiting.
Okay, Jaron. Thank you. It was a pleasure
Thank
to
you.
talk to you.
I appreciate it, Kat.
Right on.
Bye bye.
Yes. Take care now. Bye.
Bye. Okay. And let's get rid of that. Okay. That line's open. I was just looking up here. I don't know who this person is that keeps saying weird things. Spephomited, whatever that is. Jaron, no to the caller's distortion, since such is wrong for the Lord Jesus to as if have a wife, because he is the living flesh of our heavenly Father. I mean, I don't even know what to say to people like that. What do you mean? Jesus was a man on earth, and if there is a heavenly Father, what would be wrong with him having a wife? So let me guess, you're in the belief that men are better than women and women should listen to men and they should. And I'm not saying, because I am a traditionalist, meaning I want to bring home and take care of and provide for my wife. I want to have her stay home and take care of the home, to do laundry, clean clothes, wash dishes, make love. That's what I want. That's a perfect situation for me. Why? Because that's what we are good at. I'm not good at washing clothes. I'm not good at changing diapers. I'm not good at washing dishes. Can I do them? Sure. Would I rather not? Of course. Just like my wife doesn't want to come in here and do the show. So doesn't want to be a store manager of a drugstore like I was. So I'm a traditionalist. However, I also am somebody that sees that two is better than one, and the sum of the pieces are actually better. This is how I know that if we all came together, we would realize, like, for instance, my wife and I are better together. So is it because we've brought in two spirits of God together? 3 might be better than 2. 10 might be better than 1, so on and so forth. We are powerful, but they've separated us. Black versus white, left versus right, blue versus red, Raiders versus Niners. You name it. It's all division. And it's because there's certain people here that don't like the idea of us coming together. Like, for instance, and people might say, well, Jeremy, what about the one world order? They want us all to come together. No, they don't. The one world order is meant to have people at the very top that control you and slaves. That's what it's meant. And we shouldn't stand for it anymore. We need to be smarter than this. But I noticed in the chat, there's a lot of people just clearly are not smart enough to see it. Somebody says there was never a historical Jesus. It's a tough thing to say. I mean, why don't we argue about Moses first? There clearly was no Moses. Okay, there's no other book that talks about him. There's not even a book that talks about the Hebrews being kept in captivity in Egypt. It's just a story. And it's been perpetrated on people, and it makes people feel bad for them. Oh, they were the poor. And then God came and saved them because God loves the Jews so much. And then when other people were being enslaved, God just didn't care much about them. He only cared about the Jews. See, it's a racist God, so you better go worship him for being racist, which is what people do. It's what Zionists do. It's what this United States does. Okay. Let me see if there's anything else here before I get back to the calls. We got Andrew ready. Let me bring Andrew on, actually. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Hello.
How are you, my friend?
Wonderful. So I've got
like
10 different things to talk about, but I'm going to keep it to a couple.
Keep it to your 4 minutes. Go.
Yep, go for it. I've had this conversation about religion with a lot of different coworkers, family, whatever. What does YHWH actually stand for?
It's the Tetragrammaton, which is the unspoken, unheard of name of God. We're told it's because in Hebrew there's no vowels, so it's Yahweh, basically, or Jehovah, without the vowels.
Okay.
Like,
So-
look at it. You can see Yahweh there.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And
yeah.
it's Yohe Vavhe.
So my main question is, for anyone that is actually a Bible believer or any other religious person at all, why do they believe in that? Where did they get the information?
Right.
And this conversation has to go with, can you prove who wrote the Bible, and can you prove when it was written? That's a question that I've asked every single person, and no one can give me an answer.
Nope, but they want to believe in it. They want to put their entire lives behind it. And here's the thing. I do believe that there is the erasing of souls, or if you're a terrible, terrible person, you just die and that's it. You don't go back to source. You don't graduate to anything else. You don't go to another plane of existence. But that's really the worst thing that can happen to you. To everybody else who is lost, people in the chat, SpefMT, all that's going to happen is you're going to come back and do this again. The problem is, I believe that it gets harder. And what I mean by that is there's more and more and more distractions, and it's not going to get easier for us. So I don't want to come back here again because I realize how difficult it was for me to see through the lies this time. I don't want to be born here again, having my memories wiped and having to do this again. And this is why it's great that God does it that way. Because if you tell somebody the rules of the game, then you're not really determining who's the best players, right? What I mean by that is that if God came and said, I need you to do this, this, and this, because if you do, you get rewarded. And if you don't, then you go to hell. Well, now the people that are doing things, they're doing it for the reward. And the people who are not being bad are doing it because they're afraid of the repercussions. And I don't believe that's a true way to figure out somebody's deepest desires, right? I believe you have to actually look into somebody's heart. You would have to them not know what's going on, right? So I think if you go back to the last show I did this, where I had call-ins about is YHWH or WH worship worthy, one of the guys that calls in is going on and on about how he's afraid of God because if he does, and then I said, okay, so what you're saying is you only don't do bad things because you're afraid of what would happen to you. He's like, isn't that what morality is? Isn't that why we all don't do bad things? I'm like, no. I know of ways to do bad things and not get caught. That's not permission for me to not do them. It's the same thing with, I don't do bad things because I realize inside me that I would know. And here's going to get even crazier. People are going to be like, that's insane. What if I told you that I think we judge ourselves? What I mean by that is only you know what you've been guilty of in your life. So if you die, you can't fool yourself. You can't pretend that you were a good person when you weren't, because you know that. So it doesn't even require God to be your judge. Remember Jesus? Jesus says we can do greater things than him, that we are like him. We're all brothers. We're all sons of God. So Jesus, when he says he's the judge, the ultimate judge, he was probably talking about of himself. Okay. And I just wanted to go back to what that last caller said. I agree with what she said. In my opinion, and again, I'm just getting this from what I've heard about Jesus, the tricks I think we've been shown. I believe that Jesus was smart enough to come here and say exactly what I'm saying. I believe Jesus came here and said that God of the Old Testament is not our God. When he was out picking corn and somebody came and said, hey, you're breaking the Sabbath. He says, forget the Sabbath. Sabbath wasn't made for God. The Sabbath was made for people. So he came bucking the trend. Now, do we know everything he said? No, because they've lied a bunch. But some of the things look like they've kept him in there. When he says no man has seen God or heard his voice, I also believe that no man has seen God or heard his voice. He says, in the future, many people will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ. Do not be led astray. We've all been taught that that means many people will come in his name. That makes no sense. They're coming as Christians saying they are the Christ? Who would believe that? Not one person in this world will ever come here and say they are the Christ and us all go, yeah, we agree with him. So he wasn't warning us of that. He was warning you of what you've all fallen for.
Well, Jaron, to add on to a little bit of what you were saying there, this is something I've been talking to a lot of my family, just people that are hardcore religious. Fear is the most powerful tool that's ever been used.
100%.
Ever. And here's my example. It's a really fucking simple example that anyone can actually manipulate if you want to. Okay, let's say that I have $1 million
Okay.
that is 100 miles away, and I say, you have 1 hour to be there. Most people are going to say, that's not worth the risk. But then I say, there's $1 million that's 100 miles away. If you don't get there, I'm going to kill your entire family in front of you. So there's risk versus reward.
Right.
Most people are going to choose the risk when it comes to the fear aspect.
Correct.
And it's very, very simple. And that's how a religion is working. It's
Yep. And
stupid.
it's when you're scared into different things, then it's that fight or flight kind of mentality, right? Where you're not thinking clearly and you no longer trust yourself because you are giving your power to somebody else. And the Bible says there is no love in fear, which is so true. But the Bible also says to fear God. That's where you can start to see that contradictions that don't work, we can take the good from the book and leave the bad. The good is that there is no love and fear. You're right. When I'm in fearful mode, I'm not in love at all. I'm in a different state. And so I would rather get to a place where I don't fear, which is where I'm at now in my life, that I don't have fear in speaking out against God. There's no part of me that's burning. I know the feeling when I do something wrong, and I'm not getting any of that. So if I did get that feeling like, oh shit, I'm turning people away from, I don't feel I'm turning anybody away from anything that they shouldn't be turned away from. Now, I don't want you to go and do something because I said to do it, because I'm just human. I'm just human, and I could be dead wrong about all this. But guess who's going to pay for that? I'm going to pay for that. I will pay for that in my final day when I face the Creator. But I also know that I haven't done anything so bad that I need to be worried about it. And I think even if you're somebody out there, maybe you raped somebody, maybe you did something in the past that you feel really rotten about. So Christianity seems like the best religion for you because it's one that says you can be forgiven, just believe in Jesus. And so you go around telling other people, I've been saved, and you got to just believe in Jesus. Just know that that's the worst kind of doctrine you would ever tell anybody. In fact, I think that doctrine has led many of the Catholic priests to like diddling little boys because they're priests. So they've chosen to give up their life on earth for a life in heaven. They now do everything they can to promote Jesus and God, but they also feel like they're wicked sinners who were born evil, just like Christians do. They think, oh, I was born wicked. We're all wicked. We all have wicked minds. We all have wicked thoughts. But they're probably in a position where they're like, you know what? Sometimes I'm going to slip. Thank God I can just believe in Jesus and I get to go into heaven.
Why do people actually believe in any religion at all?
Because I believe it's born inside of us. I believe inside of us is that desire.
No, like a Hindu versus a Christian, for example. Like they're
simply where they were born. Really where they were born.
Location, a lot.
Yep. And society, or, culture, right? So if you're born in Japan, it would be kind of weird for you to grow up as a Christian. Just like if you're born in the United States, it'd be very weird to grow up as a Shinto, Be different. I mean, that's not unheard of.
No.
Here we go again. Superior Affection says, Jaron, I obviously don't get the infinite gulf between God and man, potter and clay. So Superior Affection saying that no matter what God did, he would worship him. I mean, I think so poorly of somebody who believes that. I believe so poorly of somebody who is going to pretend that there's a God who wrote a book for us to follow, puts himself in there doing disgusting things, talking about disgusting things, telling you how to sell your daughter to sex slavery. And this guy worships that God. And you know what? The people in the chat, it's not like anybody even says anything to them. They're just like, well, he believes in God. Well, yeah, do you realize what that person is backing? The God of the Bible is not a worship-worthy character. And until somebody explains to me why I should worship him in any other way besides he doesn't understand the pot and the potter and the clay and the clayer. I mean, it's just so stupid. It doesn't matter. If you create things, you're not allowed to dictate who they worship and who they don't, and that they have to worship you no matter what. You should not have children and then desire worship from them if you are a terrible parent. Do you think children that are born to parents that sit in the bedroom and smoke crack all day with the crack smoke flying around the room and they're having sex in front of their child, should that child still love and worship their parents? No, we know that. But yet when it comes to God, you're giving this creator some other gifts or some other leeway. Why? Because you're afraid little bitch. That's why. If you admit it to yourself, you'll realize you don't love that God. You love them because you're afraid of him. And so you want us all to be afraid like you. Jaron doesn't understand that we have to be afraid of the big daddy God. Yeah, I'm not afraid of God. Not that God. I'm not even afraid of the real creator because I don't believe the real creator puts us here to then inflict pain and punishment. Everything that you have happen on earth is because of humans. Everything that takes place, every rape, every whatever, is all done by people who have free will. Okay? So is God a part of that? Yes, God's inside you. It's the only reason you can live. It's the only reason you can breathe. It's the only reason the world exists. So is it God doing those things? No, God is perfect. God would not do those things. That's what you should be trying to attain. You're trying to get back to source by being the most like the creator that you can, even though you have free will. Think of it this way too. Like, I don't know about angels. I don't know what I believe about that, but let's just say, like, I don't believe God can do wrong. God can't do wrong. So if he splits himself into human beings with free will, now all of a sudden he can. It's not him doing it, but it's us, and he lives through us. And again, look at what it says. It says in the Bible that we're created in the image of God. So is God watching us, watching everything that happens through our eyes? Now, he's got the ultimate control, meaning he can end this at any time. He can let it continue forever. I don't know what's going to happen, but only God does. And I think that that's what's going on here. And it's a test. Now, I don't know what happens if you follow the rules here, or you become a good person, or you show God that you should be commended or whatever. I don't know. But the point of that is that's not why I speak out like I do. I'm not looking for the reward. Okay. I guess you could say, well, Jaron, do you hope there's a reward? Well, I think it would be pretty damn cool if that's why we're here. If we're here to figure this stuff out, to change our life, because everybody had a fucked up beginning. Nobody was a great teenager. Nobody respected their parents 100%. Nobody didn't break curfew. Nobody didn't smoke a cigarette. Nobody didn't do drugs. Again, 1 out of 1,000 people. I'm not being so direct. Actually, my mom didn't do any drugs. I don't care. You get my point. We've all had downfalls. We've all slipped. We've all messed up. We've all done wrong. At some point, I'm not saying it happens at the same age for everybody, because it would depend on your life situations. At some point, you see these things. You realize, oh, this path is right and this path is wrong. And then you go on the good path. Now, the problem is that they've interrupted that path with misdirection, like hate anybody that's gay, do these things. And then people get caught up in that because they think God will not give you a high five because you hate gay people. I'm somebody who doesn't believe that that is the correct way. Okay. I'm somebody who doesn't think that's the best way to raise a child. But am I going to go and hate on gay people? No, because I believe that they are as much of the creator as I am. They've chosen to do things I don't think are right with that gift, but that's not for me. I'm not the judge of them. I'm the judge of me. That's it. So, anyway, go ahead. I love these people. Jaron is confused. That's a great comment. I'm the least confused I've been.
2 more things to say.
Okay, go ahead.
I get.
Yes, and I'll boot you. Go.
Sorry, man. One of them you're not going to like at the beginning.
That's all right.
But you're going to like the end. Don't worry. Huge shout out to Red's Rhetoric.
Math is reality.
Well, no, the reason is because when I was going through the whole understanding of we're not, on a fucking globe,
right?
I was going through every single flat earth debate you could possibly find, and I found Red's Rhetoric, and you were on that debate, and what I found was he was just an inconsiderate asshole, and you were just being logically calm the entire time. So I was starting to see how people that are in this type of community they're respectful, and they aren't. They're fucking idiots.
Yeah.
And I'm as good at math as he is. That fucking idiot. Oh my God, he had me. Oh, so many.
I used to believe that too, but I really don't anymore. I've been treated worse by people in my own community than ever by the Globers. So even as bad as Red's Rhetoric was, he didn't say the things that have been said about me by people in this community. He's never called me a shill. He's never said I'm an actor. He's never said I'm playing opposition. He's never said my son's a bastard. He's never said none of those things. So to me, I used to feel like you. I was like, wow, if people become flat earthers, they are good people, and people who are on the globe side. And I don't believe that's true anymore. I think it's too much of a generalization.
Oh no, I know what you're talking about with the whole FED.
Well, there's that. There's RV Truth. There's Jake the Asshole. There's Dan Pratt. I could go through a list forever. There's Validation Boy. I'll name names till the end of time of people in this community who have watched what I've done for 7 years and still choose to tell their entire audience that I'm a shill, or that I work for these other people, or that I'm a Jesuit, or it's just it's okay. It's what I've learned to expect it. I've learned that nobody's going to ever. I really did get into YouTube and thought, here's what I'll do. I'm going to make sure that I just tell the truth. I'm just going to be honest with people about how I really feel, and then everybody will like me. I really believe that. And now I realize that the more truth you tell, the more yourself that you are, and not falling into the trap of conforming to what everybody wants you to be, the more you'll be hated. So I now look at it as, well, I guess the more flat earthers that hate me, the more I realize that those people are not good people. That's all. That those people make snap decisions and they care more about like promoting themselves or something like that. Because I've told this to people many times, I don't ever attack any other person. You can go back and look at the entire time. I've never been the first one to go and say, look at what this guy's doing and he's this and this and this. No, I want to focus on my channel, my audience, give you my opinion, and that's it. But then you say, but Jaron, I've seen you go after this. I've seen you go after flat earth debate. I've seen you go after Jib
Jaron, that's why I support you too, because that's like, you were one of the inspiration. There's many other people, but you were one of the people that I was watching that I was like, holy fuck, this guy's being like genuine and honest. And
I wish I didn't have to do any of the other stuff. I really wish I didn't have to do any of it. But and again, this is my own thing. I cannot allow people to just lie and make up things about me. And if they're questioning my beliefs, well, I can stand behind my beliefs. That's why I believe them. So I have no problem answering those people. The hard part is when people just make up things, when you've got Made by Jim Bob telling his audience I'm an atheist, or these kind of things. That sucks because I have a hard enough time defending my position as it is. I'm a flat earther who doesn't believe in science, who doesn't believe in the Bible. Like, I already have my hands cuffed. I've already got one hand behind my back and I'm trying to, fight people. So to have people on my own team then add things that are lies is difficult. It's difficult to handle. But at the same time, it's part of my learning. It's part of my growth to learn that if people want to listen to somebody else and then believe them and just, then those people, I don't want them watching me anyway. So as much as it sucks that my numbers drop or whatever, it's just like, well, think about it. If somebody listens to somebody else and just believes what they say without following up, without coming in to ask me, they just believe it, then I don't want them on my side anyway. So for instance, when Jake the Asshole said that my Baby Truther show was, I'm a pedophile and I'm recruiting children to my Flat Earth cult, AE cult, that's just dumb. I'm a father of 2 children. I'm a husband. There's nothing that in any way resembles any of what he said. And yet people were in the chat, people were in the comments saying, yeah, I've known it the whole time. Yeah, you're right. That baby show, it's weird. He's got babies dancing at the beginning. So what I need to recognize is I tried to go and like save my name. Like, no, it's not true. And then I realized, wait a second. If somebody's willing to listen to that drivel and believe that based on what they've seen about me or based on anything I've ever done, then I don't want to win them back. I don't want to win them back. There's no way. I don't want to have to go defend myself to that kind of accusation and then have that person go, oh, now I believe Jaron, because I don't want people to believe me like that. I want to present things to you so you can get an opinion from somebody else and then you make your own mind up. So I don't even tell people like, don't go follow these people. Don't go follow those people because you're free to do whatever you want. I don't want you to make decisions because of me. I want to be just another voice. And I feel like there's not enough people with this voice, right? There's not a lot of people in the middle telling you, oh, you can believe in the flat earth, but you don't have to be a Christian. Okay. That's all I'm saying. You can be a good person and not be a Christian. You can be a good person and not believe Jesus is your God. There's nobody saying those things. So to me, it's like, well, what am I going to do? I could believe that for myself and keep it to myself and be like, okay. And sometimes I do that because I also recognize that it upsets my audience. And I'm hanging myself and you don't get any donations. You don't get, any other show. If I'm doing a show about bagging on NASA or making fun of Neil deGrasse, the donations start flying in. And when I do this,
raised Mormon, and one of the best people that I ever met in my entire life was a Muslim.
Yeah, and again, if we erased the idea of what somebody believes, it would be a lot better, right? Like, I really want to get along with people, everybody. And it's so funny because I said that recently. I want us to come together. And then Jim Bob goes on his show and he's like, Jaron wants to come together. We'll never believe like you. We'll never think like you. I'm like, I didn't say that. My mom didn't believe like me. My mom believed that Jesus died on the cross. She said if Jesus didn't die on the cross, she doesn't have a reason to live. But we got along great. Why? Because we're good people. Okay? I can leave that aside. She knew what I talked about. Just like if you want to believe that, then just don't watch my show when I'm talking about that. And you'll be fine. you should recognize that I'm not doing bad. I'm not an evil person. I don't steal from people. I don't take things. I want to bring good to the world. And if I say that, Jim Bob's going to go make fun of that. He wants to bring good to the world as if we have some idea what good is. And everybody has the same idea of what good is. Well, just because you are a loser that believes in a God in a book that has no connection to what good is anyway, you cannot just dismiss people who do have in their hearts what good is. Because there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people. And those people fall for the trap of believing that they're good. And so they better look at where's the religion that's all good people. Oh, Christians, I'll go over there. I'll go over there and I'll be Christian. But you don't realize what you're becoming when you're there. You become like Jim Bob, who says, how do we know that rape is immoral? World peace is satanic to me. These are quotes of his. I wholesale reject world peace. Why? Because his book doesn't talk about world peace. The Bible does not say there'll ever be world peace. Why? Because it will always be strife. It will always be destruction. It will always be evil until the great Lord Jesus comes out of the sky and saves us all. Because that makes sense. Jesus said, love your neighbor and turn the cheek and love your enemies. But he's going to come back pretty soon to kill and maim all his enemies.
Hey, Jaron, I'm going to get going here pretty quickly,
okay,
but I would like to shill for you.
Don't shill for me.
Well, no, don't worry. It's not going to be like that.
Oh.
But, yeah, I've never made a YouTube video, Rokfin video, or anything like that. I'm terrible at OBS, even though I have it downloaded. So Jaron does actually have a little consultation thing that he has, and I'm going to be signing up for that right after the summit. Yeah, I spoke with you on
I remember
Telegram. So yeah, anyone that's just curious about that kind of stuff, I can't say it more than anyone else that's actually been saying it. Support what you like, or it does go away.
And that's another, it's another one of the lies, right? It's another one of the tricks that they tell us, like, oh, truth should be free. Yet people go to church and dump money in that basket. Because why? Because there's such big money in a lot of people giving, right? The church doesn't care if you only give $2. Why? Because they have 4,000 people who show up at church. So they have $8,000 at the end of one mass, and then they have another mass, and they have another 8,000. So the lie is to make sure that anybody speaking anything outside of religions, speaking outside of government, because government, look at all the money they take from us, every which way possible. Think about it. 8% of every dollar you spend goes to this government to tell you lies and to basically garner more and more control over you. That you have no problem paying. That you just pay. You know, what are you going to do? They just take the money from us. But when you have a truther come on a YouTube channel who is giving you their honest opinion, which is different than you get from the TV, different than you get from the radio, different than you get from family, and you're like, no, this guy's a shill. He's asking for money. Well, it's because I love doing this. I love speaking my mind and not being afraid to. Remember, I was a store manager of a drugstore. I couldn't speak my mind. In fact, I got fired for speaking my mind. Not fired, I quit, but I knew I was going to get fired. But it's because CVS wanted monkeys. They didn't want my opinion on anything. They said, you can only hire overnight employees, Jaron, at $8 an hour. I'm like, what? We're in the crazy, dirty, disgusting city of Salinas, and I don't want people for $8 an hour. They'll just come in here and steal from us. I want to hire people at $16 an hour where they make this a career and they like being here and they like to work hard for me. Sorry, CVS only allows you to hire people at $8 an hour overnight. So then I do, and I get a bunch of gang members, basically all I could get, who would call in sick every other night. And then when inventory came and they came back and they said, we're going to write you up, Mr. Campanella, for having a shrink percentage above your, and I'm like, yeah, no fucking shit. I could have told you that. What do you think? What? Of course we're being stolen from. You're having me hire people at $8 an hour and not letting me work them more than 24 hours a week. So I'm getting the scum of the earth to work here. And you're surprised at it's like, it was so obvious to me. And then I was like, I'm out of here. You want monkeys. I'm not going to just come here and fire people because you tell me to fire them. Because they told me people who make like $16 an hour as a cashier, they're like, yeah, you got to get rid of them. I'm like, why? That's my best cashier. Well, because we only allow people that are moving up to management to make that much, or they have to leave. I'm like, well, but I don't want her to be a manager. She doesn't want to be a manager. She works mornings. She's not going to work nights and close the store. That's how we do things. So again, I'm just saying that everything is, they pigeonhole you into these kind of, these people they want you to be, and that's who everybody is. So when you go out and you see people in the workforce, that's who they are. They're people who have given up their autonomy. They have become warrant agents of the state or agents of the corporation. I would have been an agent of CVS. Get this, if I would have just done what CVS told me to do and kept my $99,000 a year, I would have been the one telling you to put a fucking mask on when you come into my store. I would have been telling my employees, you cannot work here if you don't put that fucking mask on. And guess who would have been first in line for the old shotaroo? Would have been me. Why? Because that's what you do when you're a store manager at a drugstore. You show by example that you get the shot and they better get the flu shot too. So recognize how awesome it is for me. I've never once looked back and regretted leaving. Never once, because I got to become who I am. And many people, the people who tell me, get a real job, you shouldn't ask for money on the internet, get a real job. They are so miserable with their lives because they have become agents of the state, agents of the corporation, agents of Taco Bell, agents of getting people sick, agents of the hospital system, which is taking people out.
Hey, Jaron, I got a question for you about
Yes.
your time when you were at CVS, or Long's, which...
Yes, I love Long's.
Yeah, it was Long's. So when you were the manager, what level of leadership or direction or supervision or whatever did you have over the pharmacy?
I was the store manager of the pharmacy. Every employee under that store was under my watch. I was the store manager, the only salaried employee.
Pharmacist?
Yep, pharmacist answered to me.
Holy shit! Okay.
Yep. Did that for 15 years. Was store manager I was the youngest store manager in the company with Long's, but then they became CVS. I don't remember the year, 2000.
No, I'm not trying to doubt anything you've done. I'm just asking.
7. No, I know it's kind of crazy to think about, but those guys, and that's why when I hear things about pharmacists, they are some of the strangest people, and they make so much money, and they're not even smart. It's like, I think that if you go to college and you just don't know what to become, and you're kind of just like, man, I just want to be here and make money, you become a pharmacist. Sorry if there's any pharmacy or pharmacists in the audience, but they are really strange people. Strange, and they just count drugs, and then they put it in a bottle, and then when you call them to the counter,
over here is about $160,000 a year. I've looked it up. I have a buddy.
It's ridiculous. And you know what they do? They get to, so they don't. At CVS, we had a whole bunch of traveling pharmacists, so there were people who would fill in for the regular pharmacists, but a majority of them do that. And so they make a shit ton, and then they don't have to be held responsible for like being dickheads to customers because that's not their regular store. So they can be a dickhead today because they just leave tomorrow and nobody, and that was most of my complaints would be pharmacists just being rude, but it wouldn't be my home pharmacist. It wouldn't be like my pharmacy manager or one of the, what they call staff pharmacists. It would be some traveling pharmacist, but those traveling pharmacists would sometimes be getting paid because you think about this. You've never been into a drugstore and the pharmacy be closed, like during regular hours, right? Like it's the most important thing to keep your pharmacy open. So if my pharmacist calls at 7 a.m, says I'm not going to be there, and we open at 9, my job is to get a pharmacist no matter what. Meaning I can basically start asking or offering any amount of money. And some pharmacists would come in at 4 times pay. They would make $130 an hour, so they would make $500 or $600 an hour.
For one prescription?
No, $500 or $600 an hour to work.
Yeah, but for what will be the reason for that though? Just
because my pharmacist called in sick. So if my pharmacist calls me sick, says I'm not coming in today, so now we have no pharmacist. The company would rather me get somebody at 4 times pay than to close the pharmacy.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm sorry.
Because you would take that loss, right? Okay, $400 an hour times 8 hours, so we pay them $3,200. That's better than all the customers that would come in that morning, see the pharmacy close and get pissed off. You might lose multiple customers forever who would spend way more than $3,200. Here's about this person. My name, last name says, the YHWH has the right to judge you. You have no right to judge him. You are sinful. He is sinless. That is hilarious to me. It's so bad. It's so backwards, and it's so pathetic.
All right, Jaron, I've been on for long enough.
Appreciate it. Later.
Let someone else call in.
Yep. So let me just explain one more time why that's pathetic to me. Is what you're saying is no matter what the creator did, how if you are the creator, how would you find this person impressive? I'd be so disappointed. Be so disappointed that there's people that I created that even though I gave them morality, are saying that no matter what I do, they don't care. They're going to love me no matter what I do. Imagine being a parent like that. I just go into stores and steal from stores, spit on people. I'm racist. I'm evil. I cheat on his mother. And every time my son looks at me, what do you think my son would think of me? And imagine if I'm just like, well, you have no right to judge me. I'm your father. I have every right to judge you. You don't have. What kind of people would you get out of that? You would get the kind of people that watch Jim Bob. They are. It's so funny. The other day I heard him talking about Gnostics, and he's like, "Oh, the Gnostics create little girly men." Go watch his stream and watch the guys who come on at the end. They're the most passive, queerish, quiet people. Well, I believe that this, and I believe this is what Christianity has created. It's created men who are like Jesus. They would let the government come and take them away. They would let the government come and arrest them for doing nothing, and they would get hung on the cross and be like, well, I guess I didn't do what they were supposed to do. It's so complacent. It's exactly what the government wants. It's exactly what the TV wants and advertisers want. And then if I were to read you something, you would lose your mind. But this is what Jeff Doherty was reading on his show tonight. You know what? I can't say it here, but maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Or should I go to Rokfin now? Yeah, I'm going to go to Rokfin. I think that it's important enough to continue this conversation. So if you want to come along, so why do you hate him then? Who? Hate who? Okay, you cannot hate Jesus when he's told in a book to me. Okay, do I hate Huckleberry Finn? Do I hate characters of books? No, that would be dumb. That's a character in a book. So when I meet Jesus, when I know for a fact that he said this or that, or that he did this or that, then you can determine whether or not I have ill feelings towards Jesus. I believe I have ill feelings towards whoever wrote about Jesus because there's a lot of confusion in that book. There's a lot of things that shouldn't be said. Jesus should not, why would you worship somebody who says, if you love your mother or father or son or daughter more than me, you are not worthy of me? That's the most egotistical nonsense I've ever heard. Jesus, I've never met you, bro. Ever. So why would I like you more than my parents? That's dumb. My mom birthed me, housed me, fed me, clothed me. And here's the thing. If you're the creator, you must be looking down and thinking anybody who is going to follow a character in a book, love that character more than your parents, doesn't deserve God. Doesn't deserve God. That's ridiculous. What are you doing trusting in the words of men? What are you doing reading books that's just ink on paper? There's nothing divine about a book. Nothing. And yet people, because they've been lied to and confused and they've been raised with fear, again, it's not that bad. You're not going to go to hell. You're not burning in flames for eternity. You're just going to come back here and have to do this again. And think about, would it be easier today or easier 100 years ago to, let's just pretend that you grant me that what I'm saying is true. Each time that goes on, it becomes more and more difficult because there's more and more lies, more and more control, more and more division. Every step of the way, it's only going to get harder for you to realize who you are. It's only going to get harder for you. And I believe that when you die, you probably find out right away. You probably find out like, oh shit, I was God? Yes. And I had all these capabilities and I had all this knowledge. And then what happened down there? Well, these people lied to you and you were incapable of seeing through the lies, even though you heard from other people telling you what was going on. You chose instead to believe words on a book because your pastor said so. And guess what? That pastor was doing things for them. The pastor was trying to enrich their lives. Joel Osteen has a $14 million house. Should that warn you? While Christians go around and say, but Christians are persecuted, Jaron. Why would they be persecuted so strong? Oh yeah, they're real persecuted. They're not charged any taxes. They have the most land ownership of anybody. Huge church places everywhere, every corner, church of this, church of that, fresh life, fresh that. And you look at the pastors, Greg Laurie, all these guys, multimillionaires, demons like that guy, whoever his name is, COVID-19, forgot his name, but they're so rich, millionaires, but they're persecuted. Yeah, there's a lot of persecuted people in the world that are just filthy rich. Speaking of that, think of other people that say they're persecuted, but are filthy rich. It's weird that when you start to read it, it's like almost like people are saying one thing so that you act a certain way towards them, but really they're not that one thing, right? So if you tell people you're persecuted as a Christian, then people start feeling bad for them. Yeah, they are. That must be the truth then, right? So people go and shovel money at them. But the lie is that they're not persecuted. They're just telling you they are. So when I tell you, oh, I don't get a lot of audience because I'm neither science or religion, and people from both sides hate me, and then when you look, you can see that. You don't need to just take my word for it. You can see that. You can be like, yeah, everybody in this chat has got a problem with him. Everybody's got, they say, oh, Jaron wants to be his own. Everything that they say about me is made up. It's made up. You know, because they can't argue my points because there's nothing to argue. They just want to believe, and they want to say, oh, well, Jaron, he thinks he's his own God, right? Let's look at the last couple chats, see if I'm right. The last couple chat messages. Sorry, that's not the one you want to look at. See if we got to. If you're bad, you're reincarnated as a goat, in my humble opinion. Huh. I'm not sure about that, but Copeland, thank you. Copeland, yes, Copeland. Copeland's true. I'm struggling with questions. Is the Bible a blueprint or spiritual scripture? If evil controls all information across our world, then how did the Bible survive? Because they wanted it to. You're missing the point. Nikki Loves. Think about it. They tell you the Bible is hidden, that it's persecuted against, but it's in every fucking hotel room for free. And you think if you stole the Bible out of the hotel room, you could steal a pillow. I'll guarantee you're going to get that billed on your card. Guarantee you. But if you steal that Bible, I don't give a shit. Wonder why. Let's see here. Crumpet. Australians aren't raised in fear. We're raised with beer. That's probably true. There is no coming back here to do it again. Laugh face. Of course. Yeah, because you believe, and this is why you're so afraid, because that keeps you locked into, I must believe in this God. I must worship him no matter what, because if I don't, then I'm going to burn forever. Right? So anything that you've been told, pretty much you can guarantee is not true. What book did you get your info from, Jaron? No book. That's the whole point. What do you mean? I've read the Bible. I've read the Quran. I've read many books. But if you're talking about what I'm giving you now is a summation of all that. It is my own mind. Imagine that. Oh my goodness. What do you mean? What book did you get yours? What's your presupposition? What book do you believe in as truth? None book. How about that? Why? Books are written by men. Men have ulterior motives. Now you can say, Jaron, you must have an ulterior motive. Great. Believe that if you want. The difference is you should be able to see who really does and who doesn't. What am I getting out of this? Losing subs. Great. That's definitely Jaron's up to something. It makes a lot of sense. But if you look at other people who are so-called persecuted, well, go look at your pastor. Go actually look into how much money they make. It's a ton. All right, Andrew's going. Fishhead, welcome to the show. Oh, shoot. I forgot. Fishhead?
Yo, what's up, Jaron?
What's up? Go, because I got to go to Rokfin after this because I want to talk about who's really causing all these problems.
Maybe you should have taken my call on Rokfin.
Let's do it.
Everything I'll say, I'll get you fucking banned.
Okay, let's do that. Be right back. All right, we're going to go to Rokfin. Guys, here's the thing about Rokfin. It's free. You can chat there. You do have to create an account because you want your name next to the chat. You don't want it to say invisible person. So I'm going to give you the link to Rokfin. It's free to watch. And at the end of the show, it'll be not free. But if you're watching live, it's free. So if you're in the chat, and I like to see how many people are there just because it shows me how many people are in love with the YouTube. Kind of like in love with the book and things like that. Let's see. We've got 387 at YouTube. So, I mean, it would be awesome if 200 come over, but there's no way, which is crazy that they wouldn't. If they're interested in the show, why wouldn't they just go somewhere else with one click? You have to click one button. But you watch. We've got 49 at Rokfin. So I'm looking for 249 would be impressive. That would mean at least half people came over. Let's head over there. Let me give you the link. Share. And copy. All right, I got some tips over there. Sweet. All right, let's go to YouTube now. All right, so, and I have to go get a glass of water and pee. So what can we play in the meantime? What will I play? Got something over here. We'll play the, we'll play this. All right, so we're going to play the trailer for the summit. And then we will be right back, and I will give this to YouTube. So YouTube, your show ends now, and Rokfin, stay there. YouTube, do your own research. Please, don't believe me. Don't trust me. I'm not telling you to trust me. I don't want to be one of those people. Jim Bob's over there telling people he wants everybody to think like him. He wants everybody to believe what he believes. And I think that's asinine. I believe we can believe something different, but I'm going to tell you my opinion on why I no longer believe like you do and why I think that you might want to look into it. You might want to do some soul searching and really determine, is the God that you worship and tell other people to worship worthy of that accolade? I don't think so. All right, see you shortly. This has been Jeranism. Rokfin, stay there. And peace. Maybe if I figure out the right button. There we go. I knew it. Sorry, it's the wrong one. It's only in my right ear. See you guys shortly.
In a world where you've been lied to about almost everything, finding the truth isn't easy, but we have to start somewhere. And so Jaren and Austin are bringing things back to the center. Join them for the first ever True Earth Mount Meru Summit. This online summit will feature some of the best speakers, presenters, and entertainers, and all at an affordable price. This two-day event will be held on Friday and Saturday, November 11th and 12th, 2022, and will feature David Avocado Wolf, Brian from High Impact Flicks, Ben from Taboo Conspiracy, Marty Leeds, Amanda Vollmer, Sean Hibbler from Hibbler Productions, Peggy Hall, Eddie Bravo, Dave Murphy, Iru Landucci, Bob Nodell, David Weiss from DITRH, and Caleb from TikTok. With live music from Chris Crum and Conspiracy Music Guru. And they will top it all off on Saturday night with some stand-up comedy from primetime Alex Stein, followed by Owen Benjamin. Crushing! Brought to you by your host, Jaren Campanella from Jeranism, and Austin Whitsitt from Whitsitt Gets It. There's nowhere better to be on November 11th and 12th. Well, maybe Mount Meru. It's the first ever True Earth Mount Meru Summit. Tickets on sale now at temms.live.
I'm the earth you see. That's glow with a capital G. Ooh, you kidding me? Flat
In a world where you've been lied to.
That's 1493. Okay. You're a pancake in space. Flying breakfast for the thinking debate. Come on. You forgot about astronomy. Oh yeah, the space race. Huh.